WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic.
Good morning. Thought I'd help you wake up.
It's 6 a.m., and you're listening to The John Kincade Show, Philadelphia's longest-running sports talk morning show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Let the party begin!
The show starts now.
All right, let's get your Thursday morning started. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. First work week back. A lot of people getting their feet under them for the week. Thanks for jumping in on the app, on our YouTube channel, on if you're listening when you leave the car. Take us with you. We appreciate it. 975thefanatic.com. On the web, we like it when you jump on when you get to the desk, too. I said it the other day, early in the week. I said it again yesterday. I respect A.J. Brown. I respect him for not talking when he supposedly had nothing nice to say. I thought it was interesting, a few things yesterday when I did get to hear it, and Andrew Salchunas on the middays had it coming on his show, and I was out for a walk, and I'm listening to what A.J. Brown had to say, and I'm like, you couldn't have said this? You couldn't have said it? Anything he said yesterday could have been said after any game. He didn't have to. No one requires you in your sound bites to trash teammates. I guess I slept through the week when A.J. Brown was depicted as a monster. I've never heard that. I've never, ever heard in A.J. Brown's tenure here has he been depicted as a monster, which is how he depicted himself yesterday. If he dares to speak up, he will be depicted as a monster. I don't remember that. I don't believe that ever happened. I couldn't find it. I looked for it. I couldn't find it. So I have no idea what he's talking about with that. But more importantly, I walked away going, people were like standing up and giving standing ovations for what he said yesterday. And what I will applaud him for is the fact that he deflected the blame back to the players. And again, I admire that because the players are ultimately responsible. But what he also did is he took you behind the curtain. And he told you the fact that you can't believe a thing that his head coach says publicly, that his head coach is just going to BS you, and he's proud of that, which is strange to me. I sort of like straight shooters. I'm not really for the guy who's going to stand behind the microphone and tell you something that they know to be completely false. But A.J. Brown told you that that's exactly what his head coach does in order to cover for players. To me, the last thing this team needs right now is to be covered for. Poor performances or otherwise. Do you need to come out and scold a player publicly? No. You don't have to call one guy out. But you can say that this team, maybe if you want to say the wide receivers run poor patterns. Maybe you want to say that the tackling effort was subpar. One of the worst performances in the NFL in any game this season. Maybe you just want to say things like that because what they are is facts. And I don't understand why A.J. Brown would celebrate the coach just covering up for them. I would think you'd want, I don't know, if you want the transparency of blaming the players, which it seems that he does, then I would think you'd be okay with the coach saying, hey, these players, they're not doing this, they're not doing it. And then the coach taking responsibility for themselves, too. What I heard yesterday, and you'll hear from Nick Sirianni coming up, and A.J. Brown, is a lot of some people were giving standing ovations yesterday, Bob. Like, man, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I didn't hear anything that really moved the needle for me, other than the fact that I respect the guy for not wanting to add to the steaming pile of poop after that game.
Yeah, I mean, after the Giants, after the Cardinals game, he didn't want to talk. I understand that. Let cooler heads prevail. What he said yesterday, if he'd have said it after games, we wouldn't have had a problem. But
not at all.
But that's 2 weeks of sitting on something and figuring out what you're going to say. He wasn't going to say that after those games.
You think he would have come out and he would have...
Oh, yeah. He would have come out and said what the bleep is going on here and all of that. It wouldn't have been good. So I commend him for that. He's got this kind of personality that I kind of like. It's a no BS. You know where you stand. I like that he went to the players yesterday and said, "Hey, sorry you had to answer for me to the media. Like, I got to be better. But I wasn't in a good place to talk to them." I respect that. Are words going to turn this team around? Is words going to make the defense get off the field on third down? That's the downside of it. What he said, I thought he said all the right things. It was fine. The Seattle stuff is a little bit different. Seemed like there was some, I don't want to say miscommunication there, but something happened there.
Something.
Like you said, the coach isn't telling the truth. I'm not sure A.J. Brown's telling the truth.
I'm not either.
I don't know. I'm not calling anybody a liar.
No.
I don't know exactly what happened that day, and I don't know that either one of them described it exactly as it happened that day. That's their prerogative. That's what they choose to do. Look, there's a black cloud over this Eagles team right now. We know it. We feel it. They feel it. The national media knows it. He lifted a little bit of it yesterday with some levity, with some honesty, with some, okay, we can fix this. We can get back to it. Those are words. And that's okay. That's what he said. That's fine. But I don't know that that's going to, people saying, this is going to be the turning point of the season.
Wow.
If words can turn around performance that easily, sports has been screwed up for a long time.
Well, if words can turn around a season like that, then why the hell weren't the words said a month ago? Because now the plane is crashing towards the ground, and it took that long to say. And nothing he said yesterday was in any way like people were honestly, Pat. It was as if he had come out and pulled the curtain back and told us everything about this Eagles team and everything. That wow, this is life changing. We've never heard anything like this before. I don't know what to. I didn't make anything of it to be big needle moving yesterday.
No, neither did I. I didn't really see that. Well, I didn't see what you saw. But
the turning point of the season stuff and everything.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh God, yeah. Well, you see, you're good with the mute button.
Yeah. Oh, I love the mute button.
You're good with the mute button because it was all over your sites. Hey, AJ, this is what we need. This is it.
But I think for Eagles fans right now, they're looking for anything to point to say that's the turning point. This is the moment when the team gets right. I was looking for it when they lost to San Francisco. All right, well, this could end up being a good thing. They lose to San Francisco, they get punched in the face, and then they lost the next week. And then you go, okay, well, that's the turning point, right? Yeah, they lost to Dallas, and now they're. We've been looking for a turning point for this team seemingly all season long for them to kind of click it into gear. So I don't necessarily blame the fans for saying, okay, he didn't rip the coach. He kind of defended him. He pointed out some flaws with the team, but basically saying, it's more on the players. It's not on the coaches. So that could be the turning point. I don't blame fans for thinking that. Do I believe it? No, I don't think that, to Bob's point, I don't think that all of a sudden it's going to be like, okay, let's rally the troops and we'll figure this out because A.J. Brown addressed the media. No, I heard his thing and said, okay, whatever. Yeah.
He talked about Nick Sirianni and that this wasn't on Nick Sirianni, this collapse.
I can tell you that there may be things that Nick probably want to fix about himself, and I'll say, but one thing I can't respect, loyalty is not one of them. And I say that because he takes up for us when it has nothing to do with him, and he gets the blame, but that comes with his job, and sometimes Jalen does the same thing. And just like Brian, he get the wrong end of the stick sometimes. Wouldn't it be us?
No, AJ, no. The head coach is responsible. The offensive coordinator is responsible. Just as the defensive coordinator was responsible. If you want to say that A.J. Brown, that you want to say that Brian Johnson's not responsible if a player fumbles. Okay, totally get that. I don't think anybody is blaming Brian Johnson when a player fumbles. It's the poor offensive plan. It is clearly looking at the Eagles' offense and saying, it doesn't look like Dallas, San Francisco, Detroit, the teams that are at the top of the conference. We look like we're running something that one of the sad sack teams that goes up against St. Joe's Prep runs and gets their asses kicked. We're running a high school offense compared to those teams.
Yeah, you're talking overall, which is correct, what you're saying. What he's saying in specific, what I think he's saying, because he brought up the Seattle game, is there are some specific instances where the players aren't performing and the coaches are being blamed for it.
He's going to talk about that in this next soundbite. Here's Nick Sirianni. I mean, here's A.J. Brown on Nick Sirianni.
People say I'm beefing with Nick. I'm not mad at Nick. I'm not mad at nobody. Like we have a great relationship. Like I said, like I got a ton of respect for Nick. But like I said, he take over for us when it be us, you know. And I even said, for example, I'm gonna get detailed. For example, I know that's what y'all want anyway, but I'm I'm gonna get detailed. Like for the Seattle game, that was on us. Like we messed that up. We improvised and we went on our own. And Nick came out and said, "Oh, I wanted to try to get a flag or something crazy like that." It's like he really made himself look like a fool for us. I have nothing but respect for him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because not all coaches do that. You know what I'm saying? So like, we ride with Nick. We ride with Brian. We just got to come out. We just got to play ball.
So who improvised? I'd say that sounds like Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown improvised. Yeah. Okay. So if that happened, then why is he saying us? Why isn't he saying I improvised?
Well, maybe it was him and A.J. or Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, then Jalen and I improvised. He said us, like he's covering for us. A.J. Brown, if he blew the end of that Seattle game, then just take responsibility for it and go, I told Jalen, throw it to me deep. I told Jalen, throw it to me no matter what. No matter what the play call is, we improvise. So, in other words, they went against the play call, which makes Brian Johnson look bad, by the way. They overruled the play call, and they went with their own play call. That to me is not something that's like praiseworthy.
Wow. I mean, how many times in football games do you think a wide receiver looks at a quarterback and is like, gives eyes? We've seen it. Gives eyes, gives a little thing like, yeah, I'm supposed to run a 15-yard out, but I'm going to run an out and up because this guy's biting a little bit. I mean, I'm sure that happens an awful lot.
You think when they need a field goal, when you needed 10 yards to get a field goal?
I'm not saying it's the smartest call in the world, but I'm saying that I wouldn't doubt that it happened.
Well, I mean, that to me is crazy talk. Like you thought that was a good move when your team, in other words, that's a selfish play. That's a selfish move. You needed 12, maybe 10, 12 yards.
Yeah.
To get Jake Elliott to be able to get a field goal that sends you to overtime, you get a chance to win the game, and instead you overrule. He said it. They went and did something different. He said us, but it had to have been him and Jalen.
Yeah.
That made that decision. So they made a decision to go against a play call that Brian Johnson does get crap for. And Nick Sirianni's just going to say whatever. We were going for a penalty. We were looking for a flag.
Look, these players are out there playing the game, and do they have the ability to audible? Obviously, yes. Is it all the quarterback that's audibling? I'm sure it's helped with some wide receivers. There's communication going on there. Look, Nick Sirianni came in here and he said, we are an explosive team. Explosive play team. How many times have we heard him say explosive plays? Almost as much as putting guys in better positions. So if that's ground into the guys' minds and A.J. Brown looks and says, this guy's biting, I can get a big play here, maybe even a touchdown, and we win this game. Okay.
When you need 10 yards to tie the game,
I hear you, but when you're in the heat of battle and you think you can beat your guy, I don't, obviously we sit on our couch going, come on, 10, 12 yards. But he looks out there, and he's been programmed by his coach, big plays, explosive plays, and he thinks he can get one there. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying I can understand his thought process.
The head coach and the offensive coordinator, though, they had a plan that obviously was different than what Jalen and A.J. Brown went with that. I mean, Pat, I would rather hear A.J. Brown come out and say, I respect Nick Sirianni because this guy knows football. I respect Nick Sirianni as a coach because this guy, he puts us in a great position to succeed, and then we fail.
All right, but then,
okay,
if he says that, then we come in and go, what the hell are you talking about, man? He puts you in a great position, and then we're bringing up all the problems with this team. If he says he knows football, we're probably pointing out that Seattle game and that play that he talked about where you're trying to draw a flag. So I think it works both ways. Like if he does say that, then there's critique all around. I like the fact that he kind of cleared it up because there's so many times where, and I was saying it yesterday, Nick Sirianni comes out and it just seems like he's like falling over himself to defend stupidity.
Right.
And he's not very good at it, but he's trying. And at least in that moment, yeah, like I understand why the players do respect him because if they're screwing up and he's covering for their ass, like that was something Chip Kelly never did. Chip Kelly looked to throw people under a bus.
I don't think Andy Reid did.
No, I don't think Andy Reid.
I don't think Andy Reid covered for his players.
Well, I think at times, like I think there's plenty of times where he just, I mean, like what was the one thing for Andy Reid's press conference we hated hearing? I got to do a better job.
I got to do a better job.
Exactly. And it was like, Andy, all right, when are you going to do a better job? Well, I'm sure that was covering for him. Like, I'm sure at some point he said, I got to do a better job. And in his mind, he's going, no, these players got to do a better job. I'm putting them in a position to win, and they're not doing it.
AJ was asked about whether there is a split locker room or not, and he made clear that he does not believe it to be so. Here it is.
All right, yeah, here we go.
Sorry.
Here we go. Yep, got it.
I mean, I'm always say, like I said last year, if you throw me the ball 105 times, I'm going to win 106 times. That's me as a wide receiver because I feel like I could change the game in a moment. But if I don't get the ball, all right, he may feel like that was better. So there's nothing I can do about it. Like I said, I was not mad about the call or whatever. I was upset at my partner going down. I saw he got rolled up. And now, because I know I'm going to need Smitty down the stretch. So that's what it was, and people may not believe that, but I don't care. At this point, like, I don't care. I don't care. They're gonna create whatever narrative, and like they're gonna split in the locker room and all this. That's bull. And honestly, I'm kind of glad. What's the name? What's the reporter name? Mark. I'm kind of glad he's not here because I was gonna ask him because I wanted to know like who's saying that because I know my teammates are around for me. They I'm around for them. And I got that back, so.
A.J. Brown talks about creating a narrative, and he's throwing Marcus Hayes there saying that Marcus Hayes had a quote from a anonymous veteran who talked about A.J. Brown being part of the issue. And Marcus was not there yesterday for that press scrum, and he was looking for him. I would say this, A.J. Brown's talking about creating narratives. When was A.J. Brown depicted as a monster in this town? Never. That's never happened. It's a total false narrative, and he's talking about people creating false narratives. He's talking about people creating a false stuff. A.J. Brown has not been painted as a monster in this town.
If an article was written about you and there was an anonymous Fanatic employee that said you're splitting the station, you might
Is that
look
what
at
the
it.
quote was that he split in the locker room?
I got to read.
tried
Like
to
a
read the
split
article.
locker,
Find
like
it.
a split locker room.
Yeah, I
got to
read the article. I haven't, so I don't want to comment too much on it. But like, he's clearly up, and that's what he's talking about.
Yeah,
though.
but AJ doesn't get AJ Brown has been totally embraced in this town.
Yes, by fans, absolutely. But
Well,
he might feel like he was thrown. He clearly feels like he was thrown under the bus. Like,
And does he
that
believe
would piss me off too.
And does he believe that in a room of 53 people that Marcus Hayes couldn't find one person that would say something bad about A.J. Brown?
Maybe that didn't fit the narrative of the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's he, or that's the narrative of the story he was going for. Maybe that's what he was going for. He was trying to find somebody. I don't know. He wasn't there to defend himself yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know either. There's ways you go about things, and we'll get into that a little bit later. As a reporter, as a columnist, are you looking for something? Is something given to you that you could run with? I was like, yeah, if there's 53 guys and one guy has a beef,
Right.
I kind of take that with a grain of salt. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. If it's Jalen Hurts that comes over to me and says, yeah, things are really going bad, and A.J. Brown isn't helping things at all. Well,
Or
yeah,
if it's five guys, right?
I'm going to kind of run with that, yeah. There's different ways you can look. I saw a lot of things on Twitter yesterday. Media sucks, and Philadelphia media is the worst and all that. Fans are always going to side with the player because that's who you idolize.
Yeah, he's not
You don't
a monster.
idolize a guy that's, poorly dressed with bad hair and an overgrown suit jacket, sitting there with a recorder in his hand, shoving it in people's faces. I was that for a long, long time, although I never wore suit jackets.
Ever?
No.
What are you talking? I got to keep Pompey Fathead on my wall.
There you go.
Yeah. There's two sides of it. And like I said, we'll get into it a little bit later. But, yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, did we hear maybe even on this station, oh, is he a diva? Is he all wide receivers are pretty much divas. He hasn't done anything to disrupt this team this year, and that I know of. And like I said, I kind of like the guy.
I think
like that he has the open signs at his locker.
Yes.
I like that he's honest. I like that he shows his emotions. I said to you guys, I don't know, a month ago, when something happened on the sideline, I said, yeah, I don't mind that at all. It's a competition. I'm there fighting with these guys, my teammates. If I got a problem or if I need more, I have no problem going up and saying, hey, let's go.
Where do you fall on this? What do you think about what you heard yesterday? And more importantly, did you hear something different than we did? Do you hear a different message than we did? Because everybody can hear the same thing and can take something differently away from it. 610-632-0975. You'll hear from Nick Sirianni and our own Tim McManus, who had his thoughts on it yesterday on the best show ever. Welcome aboard, John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. Got to tell you that I have nothing, Pat. So I don't know where I'm supposed to be. I got nothing for you.
You're not. So we'll just pause this.
Let's just do it,
and then we'll. And then we'll do this, and then
there you go.
We'll end up doing that, and then guess what? Sports Center update.
today with some fantastic prizes for you. And if you still want to get in tomorrow for our first Friday show, I know it's beginning of the year. A lot of people getting back to work. It's harder, but if you want to get in, we got some spots for you. Coffee and breakfast will be provided by Homegrown Coffee and Creations, South Philly's favorite coffee and breakfast spot, where every trip to the stadium should begin at 1515 West Porter. Plus, if you are in our audience tomorrow, we got Sixers Knicks tickets, we got Flyers Flames tickets, we got Flyers Penguins tickets, and plenty of giveaways. Tom McGinnis will be here. Todd Fedoruk will come on by, Andrew DeCecco from Inside the Birds, and more, and you. So if you get a chance and you want to be a part of it, go to 975thefanatic.com and get yourself in tomorrow. Pat's already obsessing on breakfast for tomorrow. He's not eating breakfast today.
That sandwich has been living rent-free in my head for a month now, Johnny.
There it is.
You just sometimes you eat something, it
sticks with you.
It sticks, yeah. It consumes you. And that homegrown breakfast sandwich was.
It's the all-everything bun.
There it is.
That was also awesome.
Yeah, it's they're very talented down there.
Yes, they are.
I want to hear more from Bob on the reporter's angle of this story coming up. But Richard wants to get the day started with us. Richard, on A.J. Brown, what were your thoughts yesterday when you heard what he had to say?
Basically, I just think, the media and everybody else is coming down on the guy. He's a human being. He has feelings.
Who's coming down? Richard, where is this coming from? Because I don't know nobody on our station is coming down on him. I don't understand where this talking point that people are coming down on him. In fact, Bob's defended him for not talking. I've defended him for not talking. Other hosts on this station have defended him for not talking. I don't get where this narrative's coming from.
The narrative that coming from me is just listening basically to you guys. Like, what do you expect this guy to say? Like, it's like on one hand, it's like, you want him to talk, but then you're saying, well, when he does talk, you don't really feel what he's talking about.
Well, you can hear it there is that the whole idea is that, Richard, when somebody talks, you get to evaluate what they say.
Right.
And I mean, you get to evaluate what they say, and I think a lot of it was ridiculous. He's never been depicted as a monster here, that he should be afraid to talk. He said a monster. I know I'm going to be depicted as a monster. Nobody's ever done that in this town. This town loves A.J. Brown.
But maybe that's just the way that he felt. I still don't think.
Well, I don't care. Honestly, Richard, I don't care what his feelings are. That's made up. I don't care what his feelings if he's feeling that.
But see, that's what I'm saying. You don't care what this guy feels, but at the same time, he's supposed to have feelings. He's a human being.
Yeah, but they're supposed to be based in reality.
Okay, what do you expect him to say?
I expect him to say, look, we need to play better. And I love the fact that he deflected the blame back on the players. We praised him a lot for what he had to say. I love the way he pointed it back.
Richard, I had no problem with what he said. So there's just different looks at it. I had no problem with what he said.
But you don't think that these guys know that they have to play better, though?
Yeah, but then just say that. Don't say that you couldn't speak after the game because people are going to depict you as a monster. He's been beloved in this town. AJ is very much. Gosh, I see AJ Brown jerseys everywhere I go.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in Tennessee. I don't know if it was a different scenario
it may
there.
have been.
And I don't know if he's talking specifically about right now. He's depicted as a monster. He's in the limelight all the time. He's a star in this league. He has been for years. Are eyes going to be upon him? We saw it yesterday. Is that a heavy burden to carry? To some guys, yeah, it is. I couldn't imagine having a mic stuck in my face every day, having to answer for my actions on a football field or a basketball court or wherever. I had no problem. The monster thing, I don't think he was specifically talking about here. He had one problem with something that somebody reported, and
he has every right to take that up with him if he wants.
Yeah.
Now, in that situation, Bob, what would be if you were in Marcus Hayes' situation in that story? How would it be handled? How would this be handled? How should this be handled? Because it's been a few days.
Yeah, a should is a tough word. It's an individual
Could it be
thing.
handled? Could it be handled?
Yeah, because it is a column. I'll just answer to a bunch of people that some people reached out to me about it and all that and said, this anonymous source stuff is crazy. If you can't name the source, you can't you shouldn't be able to write it. Well, I'll just give you an example. Does everybody remember the hype when Ben Simmons was about to start his career with the Sixers and he had missed a year because of injury? A 6'11" guard that could pass, that was going to be the answer with Joel Embiid. The excitement of it. And we go down to Stockton and boom, he gets hurt. And after practice, there's no Ben Simmons. We're like, what happened? Well, he got hurt while we were scrimmaging. We're going to take a look at it. I'm driving home afterwards after interviewing everybody and not finding out a thing. And I have a source that calls me who is, when I tell you credible, it can't be any more credible, and tells me, yeah, they just took x-rays. It's broken.
Wow,
and
hip-hop called you?
Told me exactly what the injury is and said, it could be a season thing. So that's an anonymous source. So what do? I make some phone calls, this, that, and the other, write the story as if it's true, try to get sent, and then you finally get that second confirmation. And it's boom, you go with it from the anonymous source. It was right. Of course it was. I mean, if I would have told you who it was, you would be like, oh, yeah, you do that. So there's your kind of anonymous source thing. I wrote a story. One of the stories I got the most hits on, and I don't mean hits as in website hits. I mean like people came at me for, was an evaluation of the players that Sam Hinkie had accumulated. And I used a source specifically talking about those players. People came at me, oh, you hate Sam Hinkie, that's why. And the biggest part was that Dario Saric was going to be, according to this source, just a decent player in the NBA. There's no reason for people to be lining up at the airport for him and all that.
So that person was right, by the way.
That person was Sam Hinkie.
And that person, you were getting crushed.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes. Sam was the guy who was giving it to you.
And people told me I was a Sam Hinkie hater, and that's why I wrote the story. Sam later came out and I said, Bob, you can defend yourself and tell him I was your source. Like, okay, I mean, sometimes you got to use the anonymous sources. Now, in some cases, have I been told things? I don't know, fourth starter on a five-man team of basketball saying, I'm really unhappy here and this coach sucks. You can run with that. I don't think it benefits really anybody. So sometimes I got to make those, or you have to make those decisions as a reporter.
I've never had a problem with the anonymous source thing because I just, if you guys are paid by the Daily News, the Inquirer, legendary, papers, publications, you're not making it up. You're just not.
Well, that's a narrative that was narrative. That's the word of the day. That was a lot of people saw it. They just make stuff up to get clickbait. I'll tell you what, that hits me in my core because I was taught by Phil Jasner, Stan Hochman, Rich Hoffman, Pat McClune, the greatest writers and sports covers in this country. And if you even thought of that, my God, your head should be on fire.
And you'd be done. You'd have your credibility even within your peers.
Oh, my
wouldn't
God,
support
especially.
You. They wouldn't support you because then it reflects poorly on them. That's one of the made-up things that constantly gets talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I had this when the Joe Santoliquino piece came out. And at the time, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I mean, the city was ready to, run Joe Santoliquino out of town for dare writing a negative piece about Carson Wentz, and he named anonymous sources. Same thing, right? I'm like, well, yeah, anonymous source could be the guy, the janitor. It could be the lunch lady. It could be a lot of people. I mean, there are a lot of people that are in NovaCare. But immediately I think people jump to, oh, well, the anonymous source must be the quarterback or, a star wide. It could be a dude on a practice squad. I mean, the anonymous source thing, I didn't take it seriously at the time with the Joe Santoliquino thing, but with this A.J. Brown piece, I didn't take it seriously. Like one anonymous source, to Bob's point, out of 54-man or 53-man roster and practice squad and staff and train. Yeah, I'm not really worried about one guy's opinion on A.J. Brown. If it was multiple,
if it was an overwhelming thing,
yeah, all right, that's one thing. But I mean, veteran, okay. I mean, you found one guy that doesn't jive with him. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of people here at the Fanatic that don't like me. Like that's.
We did not say that, Pat.
Yeah, but I think we're all thinking it. Like that's every line of work. You're not going to find somebody that's universally liked. It's just not going to happen.
It's the one thing is though, Bob, is to clarify for people. Because it goes back to journalism classes at Temple. The idea of there are times where you had an anonymous source where you said, nah, I'll pass on that. But maybe if it's the anonymous source was the quarterback, you might run with it. It depends.
The importance of the player absolutely comes into play, sure. There's no doubt about that. It's really a tough read kind of thing. And I don't know how many times I went to a Phil Jasner or a Stan Hawk and said, hey, I kind of got this. What do you think? And and they would, direct me in the right way. We're talking Hall of Fame writers. A lot of it is self-judgment. There's many things that you learn during covering a beat that you just don't run with because the fans, your job is to find out information for the people that are fans of this team. They've invested effort, money, their time into loving this team, into being a fan of this team. You're there to help them with that, to say, like, yeah, here's what you wanted to know. Here's what's going on here that you're questioning. That's the job. How you go about it as far as anonymous sources and all, a lot of it is just how you're taught and how you feel. Now, look, I will say this real quick. Are there some guys that have ears towards, a negative thing? Good, I got to go with that. And are there other guys that, like myself, you know me, I'm more of a positive person, John. Like I said, if it's an eighth guy on a basketball team that says the coach did this at practice and it was ridiculous.
You might let pass.
Okay, yeah.
I remember writers, though, that I believe that I would observe working for teams that would sometimes have this story that they wanted to tell, and then they would try to find somebody that backed up that story. And I don't think that is in any way not like I don't think that is in any way like unethical.
No,
I think when you're coming in,
I think that's what happened with this situation. Honestly,
I believe that's what happened with this situation also. And I read Marcus. I like Marcus's stuff. I read it. Sometimes I think it's great. Sometimes I think it's poor. Probably if he listened to this radio show, he'd feel the same way. I think it's a tough job. I think it's a tough job because people want to attack you if they have if they got their pom-poms on in the morning and they're reading and they don't want to hear anything negative. Then he's going to be depicted as being a bad guy.
Yeah, nobody's going to idolize a sports writer. Nobody's going to idolize a columnist. It's what you're putting out there
you say
of
that, the
play here.
And my 5-year-old went as Jeff McClain for Halloween. So
really,
could you please stop saying that?
Yeah, you're right. My fault.
He's got sharp blue blazers. Then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean, Bob.
Nick Sirianni talked about in his press conference yesterday. You got to hear this. He talked about his leadership during games, and I just want you to have your listening ears on. Let's hear it.
Like I said to you, I didn't feel like I did a good enough job on that in the game against the Giants 2 weeks ago, and I need to be better at that. We're all a work in progress, right? You're never going to be exactly what you want to be. You're always in this progression of where you're going, and I've tried to be the same guy every day as far as what we do and put our head down and work today with the detail of the meetings. I guess you can ask the players that.
What does that say to you?
I don't know.
I don't either. I mean, he just talked for 50 seconds.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what the hell he said.
Yeah, you have to do a better job. Look, when you do the synopsis of this whole thing, A.J. Brown, Nick Sirianni, all of it, coaches and players have to do a better job. I mean, that's the sum of it. And they are coming out and say it. Sirianni says it about the coaching staff. A.J. Brown deflected from the coaching staff and said players have to do a better job.
Which I admired, by the way.
Yeah. That's great. Those are words. We've been hearing, got to get him in a better position, have to do this, have to do that for 16, 17 weeks now. Okay, I don't know if words are going to change it. I mean, this A.J. Brown stuff, all right, it's a good – you need a little levity from a really bad situation right now. I think he provided that. But does that help them get off the field on third down? I don't know if it's going to or not. I tend to not think so.
Our 6 a.m. sponsor is Bradford White Water Heaters. We thank Bradford White for their support of the show. Bradford White is here for the pro. And thanks for hanging out with us all day on the app and listening on the web at 975thefanatic.com and always taking us with you. We greatly appreciate that. All right, we're going to hear from you. It's what did you make of what A.J. Brown said? And more importantly, do you look at it as something that is a turning point? I do not. I don't think words are going to turn this team around. And Nick Sirianni has more to say that I think is going to leave you more confused. 610-632-0975. We'll get to you too. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, imagine if you're sitting at your favorite casino and things aren't going well and you're losing money left and right, and then all of a sudden you look down and there's an undue
Station, official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Steve wants to know if he comes to breakfast tomorrow morning and comes and sees the live show, will Pat eat after him or before him?
I'm eating before everybody, bud.
You're eating before everybody?
Yeah, I will.
And after.
I'm
after?
I'm tailgating the arrival of breakfast. I'll be out in the parking lot, and all are welcome to join me with that.
Yeah, come on. If you're in the Ballackinwood area, come and try to out-eat Pat Egan tomorrow as we have our first Friday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. A.J. Brown's comments really sort of getting everybody talking yesterday, and it's weird because it's a strange thing because I walked away going, okay, I loved what he said there, loved what he said there, loved what he said there, didn't like that. And I think that's part of any time a coach or a player talks, you're going to have things that they say that you go, okay, I appreciate that. I really agree with that. Like, I love the fact that he deflected the blame back on the players. I think that was awesome for him to do that. But what he admires about the coaching staff, to me, the idea of admiring the fact that they cover for you guys when you screw up games, to me is not like something that I'm like, woo, that's awesome. I love that. I want to hear, I admire these coaches because these guys, they know their stuff, man. It's us not executing. They know their stuff. We should be doing better. It's not on them. If you want to do that, but maybe he doesn't believe that. Maybe he doesn't believe it.
Yeah, I read it more as a, look, you guys have been down on the coaching staff. Let me just give you a little story of how they have our backs. Could there have been another way to go? Maybe, but that was the story that popped into his head. That's the one he told. Okay. Like I said, I really didn't have any problem with anything he said yesterday.
He seems like a likable guy to me.
He's always seemed like that to me. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a likable guy. I just didn't agree with where he's trying to depict that Marcus Hayes is creating a false narrative on him. And then he's saying, if I talk after a game, I'm going to be depicted as a monster. Well, this city loves him.
Yeah, I'll defend him in that sense. You're right. This city does love him. And you see A.J. Brown jerseys all over the place. But it's very much like us on Twitter. I'll speak specifically for me. I could see 100 tweets that are complimentary. And then the one tweet that I see that is like, bro, you suck. That's the one that'll stick out. And that's the one that I'll focus on. That's the one I'm thinking of. So, yeah, I'm sure when he goes to Wawa, it's, nothing but love. And I'm sure on Twitter it's usually nothing but love. But he, sees this article written and it's by a media member and he goes, yeah, all right. Like, I don't need to talk to the media then. I mean, if they're just gonna paint me like I'm fracturing the locker room, because he probably doesn't understand that I don't think the majority of the fan base actually believes he's fracturing anything.
I agree with you. I don't believe that the majority of fans feel that way.
Yeah, I think majority of fans look at players as they kind of idolize them. So when you hear bad news about a player that you like, that you idolize, yeah, that sucks. Somebody said to me, well, if media can call out players, why can't players call out media? They can. I never said they
absolutely can. Why can't they?
I've had many conversations with players that, not many, a couple, I should say, that called me over and asked why I wrote something, and coaches. And
I want to fight you.
Yeah, and I would tell them, well, this is why, and my belief. And honest to God, in those instances, they didn't agree with what I was thinking, but they heard me out and said, okay, all right.
But you can't call out a media member and go, hey, I wish he was here because I want to know what veteran in this locker room said that to him.
Oh, yeah, you can.
That's ridiculous. He can't give up. He's not giving up his source.
It might be the most mature thing to play.
That's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, and people also ask me, well, why wasn't Marcus there? He should have been there.
I don't know what maybe he had a doctor's appointment, maybe family emergency.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Don't know. I'm not defending. And Marcus, look, we all had the same thing back in the day. You always show up the next day. You always show up when you write something bad the next day, or not bad, controversial, whatever. Marcus believes in that too. As far as I know, Marcus, something was up. He couldn't make it.
Yeah,
I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling truths.
I've never heard Marcus Hayes to be a guy who hides out. So yeah. I don't buy that either. Hey, Vernon. Welcome to the John Kincade Show. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Good morning, guys. Happy New Year. I have 2 quick points. My first point, in regards to AJ saying that him and Jalen was the ones that switched that play up.
Yes.
So now, so that goes back to what y'all was talking about before about veteran leadership, because I'm saying where's the veteran leadership? Because if both of y'all two guys made that decision to make that play, you know what I'm saying, when you could have made an easier play, as a veteran, I would be upset. So that would be my first thing about the veteran leadership.
And Vernon, what about their peers? What do you think that Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson and all the other guys who put in all that hard work for months think about two guys going rogue when all you needed was 10 to 12 yards to get a field goal to send it to overtime?
That's that one. So, and that's why I say it's kind of iffy about what Jalen, what he said and what the coach said anyway. My second point is about the Marcus Hayes situation and how this is being blown up about the unanimous source and situation like that or whatever. But if I stand corrected or maybe I'm wrong, Derek Gunn had a situation where he spoke out about something that he heard or whatever, and like it wasn't like ongoing about questioning his background too.
No.
So.
It might be, thank you, buddy, and we appreciate you. It might be that just personally, maybe Derek Gunn is like a more favored within the fan base.
I'll tell you right now, and this is nothing against Marcus Hayes. I will take anything Derek Gunn says about this team, anonymous source, to the bank.
That's because of he's built up credibility with you.
And that's the thing. It's like, like he's been doing it for years, reporting, and not that Marcus Hayes hasn't, but, anything that Derek Gunn says, yeah. The other thing, too, is Derek Gunn, with his message, was more about the coaches and the lack of creativity, and that went with the narrative that the fans kind of wanted to hear in the moment, right? Like, the narrative that the fans wanted to hear was, yeah, okay, what I'm seeing is, in fact, crappy. And in this situation, Marcus Hayes, it's different. Because fans don't want to read that the superstar wide receiver is fracturing anything, especially during this like tailspin that they're currently in. But in that moment with Derek Gunn's reporting, it was like, okay, so I'm not the only one that feels like this offense sucks. The players do too. Here's fitting my narrative.
Well, here's one thing is, though, if people in the audience, and many of you, and you can join us at 610-632-0975, if you think the offense sucks, the Seattle game could have gone a different way. And I promise you, there are 9 other guys on offense who did not agree with Jalen. That you will find 2 or 3 of those guys that go, "What the hell? Why did you go rogue? All we needed was 10 yards. All we needed. Let's get this to overtime. Let's each get a possession. Let's each get a chance to win this game. Why would you two make the decision to do something? Because I do think it's selfish, Bob. I think that's selfish because there are guys. The guys in the offensive line." The other guys in the team, they don't get a vote whether they want to override what the coach tells them to do in the most critical moment of that game. They didn't get a vote. And I guarantee you, not that I think I know, I guarantee you there were players that were like, what the hell are they doing?
Well, most fans were, too. What kind of a play was that? Yeah, but how many times this year has the offensive line not known where a quarterback and a wide receiver or a quarterback and a running back changed plays on their own? It went for 15, 20 yards, or it went for a touchdown.
Well, they hear it. They know what the play call is, so
I hear you. What I'm saying is, how many times do you think that that Seattle game wasn't the only time this year? I guarantee that a player went to a quarterback and said, I know the play call, but I think I can beat him here. It's probably happens numerous times a game.
But in the last 20 seconds of a game when all you need is 10 to 12 yards to send it to overtime to give
I'm not saying
no, that's
it was
what I'm saying.
the right
I don't think
call.
that's happened a lot. I don't think that happens a lot. I don't
think they're in that situation a lot where they need 10 yards to get a field goal to win a game.
No, where guys, even to send it to overtime, where guys override the head coach and override the offensive coordinator and go with their own play call in the last 20 seconds of a game, where all you needed was a sideline pattern. And by the way, they were getting those. They were like those plays were working.
I hear you. I'm not defending. I'm just trying to give reason of maybe why it happened or what's going on. Maybe it happens so many times a game we don't even know it. I don't know how many times Jalen Hurts audibles out of a play and goes to his own play. If they came out and said, yeah, it happens 60% of the time, we'd probably be floored. But that's in essence what happened on that play. Was it the smarter play to do? No, a lot of times you'll audible into a play that you think is going to work, but it doesn't. Was it the smartest move to make? No. If it hit for a home run, then yeah.
Here's another question I have, though, is that why didn't Jalen Hurts take ownership of this after the game, after the Seattle game?
We don't know everything. Why
didn't he sit behind the mic and go, yeah, that's on me. Put it on me.
I'm
because
sure
I
he did
made
with
the
his
decision.
standard thing. I'm sure
Yeah,
he
but he
said I
didn't-
didn't play to my standard, knowing there's 7 things under his standard that he's not going to go particularly into, and one of them was that one.
But he let Sirianni and others take the fall for something that he did.
You just want everything to be an open, like, here's exactly
I guess
what
so.
happened.
I guess so.
And it's not, and I'm not putting you down for it.
No, I
Like,
understand.
everybody wants to know everything, but we're not. We're just not going to know everything that happens. So
Yeah, but it's easy for him to take ownership of that.
Is
That's
it?
I don't think that would be a problem to be able to say if he does it, he's going to take the heat for it. And he was responsible. AJ took responsibility for it yesterday. Why is it 3 weeks later we're just hearing now that AJ and Jalen went rogue when they only needed 10 yards to to give Jake Elliott a chance to send a game to overtime?
I'll bet you there's a whole bunch of stuff that went wrong in that New England Patriot opening game that we've never known about.
Probably true.
You know what I mean? We're just not going to ever know everything.
Hey, the all-new Bet Parks app is awesome. It's in Pennsylvania, Jersey, Ohio, and Maryland. It's the sports book and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app. Did you know they're the official winning partner of the Philadelphia 76ers? And the Sixers will be back in action tomorrow night. You'll hear it here on 97.5 The Fanatic as they take on the Knicks. And then Saturday, they come right back against the Utah Jazz.
We got tickets to give away tomorrow for that.
Yes, so if you come to First Friday, tomorrow you have a chance to win tickets to that one. So the Sixers getting to be the Sixers already have been packing the house, whether it was under Doc or whether it was, whatever. They've been packing the house. But there is a certain energy around town right now around the Sixers that is truly getting people intrigued and excited.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. When we had Nick Nurse on here a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him about the rotation as far as substitutions. He said, "Yep, still an audition. I'm getting close." Now it comes to 15 games later, and the other night him saying, "Yeah, watch out for this starting lineup because I think this might be what it's going to be." I'm paraphrasing. I think DeAnthony Melton, I'm not going to say is being relegated or pushed back to the bench. I think he's been given a new role that he's going to be coming off the bench. I think Kelly Oubre is going to be starting in there with Nick Batum. It gives you a bigger lineup, and that seemed to really excite Nick Nurse talking about it the other night. So things are still evolving also. The main points, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, but the side pieces are kind of changing up a little bit now. I like to see a coach doing this even 35 games into the season, whatever, 32 games into the season. So
They're still against the Bulls, absolutely.
And it's a lab, right?
You're supposed to tinker when you're playing bad teams.
Now later,
it was one of the problems I had with Doc is he didn't do it. But
later on, Pat is going to tinker. Pat's going to roll the dice on something. He's going to put a proposal out there to roll the dice for this Sixers team, and we'll get to that. Pat's already. I didn't know Pat was that big a gambler as far as doing that.
Yeah. Hasn't been a great month, Johnny. Thanks for the reminder.
The Nick Sirianni spoke yesterday again, and you heard it right here on the Fanatic, and he talked about his message to the team regarding the playoffs.
It's about going to work every single day and being locked into the details of the meeting and being locked into the walkthrough and being full speed to the snap and walkthrough and being high intensity practice and to be committed to our core values. How does somebody get good at anything throughout the course of a year or throughout the course of their life? It's from daily repetitive processes, boom, over again, that you're looking to gain, a little bit each day. So you're ready to go on Sunday and you're ready to play good at the end of the year.
Okay. It's the end of the year. I don't understand what he's talking about. Well, because he's like, you do this every day and you do this to improve and you do this to be able to wear it. That's what we're doing and everything. But nothing you're doing is showing any improvement. In fact, your last month is your worst month. And against some inferior opponents, by the way, against Seattle, against the other day, the Arizona Cardinals. It's against inferior opponents. So what you're doing, the process you're bragging about or telling me about isn't working.
Well, I wonder if the question was, how are you looking at Sunday's game as far as playoffs and resting players and all that? I love his answer if it was in relation to that, because one of my topics I was going to bring up, if they have a side eye to anything, I'd be pissed off. Because as a fan base, this team needs to correct themselves. And I'm not saying like, look, if Dallas is down 50-0 or up 50-0 and you know the outcomes, do you start resting guys? I understand that. But that cannot be, and it doesn't appear to be, a talking point down at NovaCare at all this week with the coaching staff. Well, we'll see how it plays out. No, you got to go balls to walls in this game because you haven't played good football at all lately. So you have to look within yourself, get your team out there performing well on Sunday. Now, will there be some other elements that come into play that you say, you know, did Detroit lose in the 1 o'clock game? Is Dallas, whatever they're doing? I understand that. Have one guy delegated to watch a scoreboard and then tell you. But as a coaching staff, do not let that come into play on Sunday.
You talked about the fact that you hope that Nick Sirianni and his staff are focusing on the game a certain way. What kind of way are you looking for them to focus on? Is that it? Is that
that's
you
it.
want them playing? You want them playing balls to the wall Sunday?
Damn straight, because you don't know who you are as a football team right now, and you're not playing good football right now, and you're not a 10-1 team that started the season right now. And quite frankly, if you're being honest with yourself, you're not a team that's going to win a playoff game the way you're playing right now. I mean, that's just a given. So, yeah, you can't half-ass anything. You can't talk about sitting guys and, well, you know, Slay's kind of there. If Slay can play him. I mean, this is just how I feel. You can't afford. You're not afforded the luxury with the way you're playing right now to take anything for granted.
I think that's what Darius Slay said, right? Like they asked him if they should kind of sit guys, and Darius Slay said, "I'm gonna be getting the player wrong, but one of the players, and I'm 90% certain it was Slay, said we're not playing well enough to start sitting guys. Like we need to kind of get this right. We don't have the luxury of sitting, which is
I think it was Slay.
Your reward for sitting." If you're a team that is sitting your starters, you did so probably because of the fact that you won enough games where you're set. This team hasn't done that.
Right.
So
and
you
more
shouldn't be
importantly-
rewarded for it.
Right. More importantly, they're not playing well. They could be 11-5 and stuck in the thing. I still would be like, no, we got to find everything. I got somebody on here say, wasn't it important to play better against Seattle and Arizona and Dallas? Yeah. So what do you do? Going to give up? Yeah, it was important to play well against them, but you didn't. So now this week you're just not going to do it?
Well, I think that reflects on sort of what Nick Sirianni says, because Nick Sirianni says the same exact stuff before the Seattle game, before the Arizona game, before the Giant game on Christmas. It's the same talking points. No buttons he's pushing or no message he's giving appears to be making a difference. And I don't know. But
you can't give up.
No, you can't give up.
You know, I mean,
you
can't. And that's what he's saying is the same things he said last year when they were 14-3, when they breezed through two playoff games and got to the Super Bowl. It's what he believes in. It's the MO that he goes by, that he's told his players one step at a time, all of that. He's not going to shy away from it now. You need to find some kind of a groove on Sunday, something to hold on to, some kind of a life vest has to be thrown your way like, oh, wow. The offense looked really good today for a little bit or something. I don't think you can look with a half eye towards, oh, what's Dallas doing? What did Minnesota and Detroit do in that early game? No. Have one of your analytic guys up there with the scoreboard on their phone, and then when it's time to tell Nick, yep, we're set, nothing can move, then do it. But I don't want Sirianni even thinking about that on Sunday.
The whole idea is that Matthew asks a question here is that if Bob's assertion is true, that maybe there are a bunch of times this year where we don't know when the players went rogue. Isn't Jalen Hurts making a statement about Brian Johnson and his play calling?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying.
But I mean,
if
that happens, but if it happens, like him overriding the play call in the Seattle game when all he needed was 10 yards to get a field goal opportunity. That wasn't going to definitely be made, but you would believe with Jake Elliott, it looks pretty good. Isn't that telling me he doesn't believe in what the offense coordinator is telling him to do?
I don't think. Look, you're in high school. You tell your quarterback he can audible. You know, and it goes through college when they get better and up to the pros. My God, I can't imagine how many times those guys audible at the line of scrimmage. Yeah, maybe they had a 15-yard outplay. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Gainwell was open on that.
He was wide open. And Devontae Smith was even open. Pat, I think it was Devontae was open even further, right? I mean,
yeah.
They were both wide open.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the minds of look, I'm not condoning what happened. I'm saying that maybe this is why it happened. They've been told explosive plays. And when A.J. Brown came to him and heard the play, maybe said, look, if you have any doubt on that, I can beat my guy long. maybe Jalen.
And he stared him
Jalen
down,
Hurts
though, and didn't even.
he did.
Yeah, he didn't even look.
Yeah, look, as I said, I'm not condoning, but I am saying that we don't know how many times during a game that Jalen Hurts overrides. And I do remember a statement from a coach earlier this year that says, "Yeah, we do well when we go no huddle and Jalen, makes some play calls." So I don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm pleading ignorance, not telling you that that's what's happening.
I got some numbers that are going to tell you that the Eagles are fortunate to make the playoffs at all in the NFC. I'll share those numbers with you coming up. John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. The official winning partner. I was just trying to be friendly. Just stay away from it.
Who'd you say it to?
I said it to the caller. I said Happy New Year. Larry David will be really pissed off if it is. Here's some numbers that I think are going to shock you about how bad the Eagles actually are.
Oh, this is going to be a fun segment.
No, it
Please,
is.
do tell.
No, but it is. But I think it would shock you is when you look at an 11-5 football team to tell you how they really stack up. If you take the 7 teams that are currently in playoff position, that means 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, Bucks, Eagles, Rams, and Packers. I just looked and said, where does this team stack up? The Eagles are the the fourth best team offensively. So the Cowboys are third. The 49ers are fourth. The Lions are fifth. The Eagles are very respectable seventh. Very respectable. They're the fourth. And then you get the Rams at eighth. They're right behind them in the NFC. But overall, the Eagles are seventh in the NFL in points scored per game. But the Cowboys are third, the 49ers are fourth, and the Lions are fifth. Defensively is where it gets really ugly. The 49ers are second. The Cowboys are fifth. The Buccaneers are 10th. The Packers are 14th. The Rams are 19th. The Lions are 23rd, and the Eagles are 29th. So if you just take their rankings and you combine them, where they rank offensively and defensively, the 49ers have a number of 6 next to them, 4 and 2. The Cowboys have a number of 8. The Packers then drop to 25. The Packers are the third most complete team in the NFC statistically, followed by the Rams, followed by the Lions, followed by the Buccaneers. Dead last Eagles of the 7 teams that are making the playoffs, 36, with the Eagles being 29th in defense and 7th in offense. It is maybe, Bob, I feel dumber when I looked at this yesterday for the fact that I kept ignoring these numbers and thinking this team is they're going to get this right. They're going to figure this out. They're going to get better. When in fact, of the 7 teams right now in the NFC playoffs, they are the least complete of all of them. And that includes Packers, Rams, Buccaneers, even better.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, did we need numbers to let us know that? Like, we knew it, right?
I ignored the eye test, though. So I blame myself. Well, I did because I thought they'd fix it. Yeah. I really did.
They were number 1 against the rush earlier this year. Remember
9 weeks
that?
in. 9
Remember
weeks
that?
in.
Yeah, 9 weeks into a season where probably all of us were saying that's a very, very good sample size. It's more than half the season. Yeah, it's just fallen off miserably. And the confidence level in this team, I don't think fans, us, I don't know about the players. I don't know where it is. I mean, A.J. Brown came out yesterday. Brandon Graham came out and said, I still have the utmost confidence in us.
They keep saying
okay. I mean, if you're honestly laying in your bed at night and thinking about the team, you can't convince me there isn't some leakage of confidence coming out of that brain. But I don't have confidence. I mean, I watched an Arizona Cardinals team come in here and hold the ball for 40 minutes on them. 40 minutes. I saw a guy named Dortch tear him up. I never even heard of the dude before. Never even thought of taking him on my fantasy football team when I was picking my wide receivers. Yeah, confidence level? No. It's almost like Pat said. You're almost reaching the point of apathy instead of frustration now. It's just like the other day. I'll give you an example. Watching that game, I didn't even realize it. The game gets done against Arizona the other day. My mother-in-law comes over. Somebody came over, and I hear my wife telling my mother-in-law, yeah, I couldn't believe it. Bob was actually sitting there reading his book during the game. No reaction. She said, I'm watching the game, and it's so frustrating. He had no reaction to it. And that's not normally me. Like, I don't jump and shout or all that stuff. But, yeah, I got to tell you, between plays, I was reading my book. When a play came, I'd look up. Oh, Eagles just got dashed for 20 yards on a 3rd and 12. Went back to reading my book. Honest to God, that's where I was on Sunday. That's a horrible place to be.
I feel dumb, though, Pat, in the fact that I look at these numbers and I say, I kept thinking, I don't believe them. No, I don't believe them. They're gonna work out. These things are gonna work out. Now, it must be said too. These Eagles numbers were compiled against the hardest schedule in the NFL. So that has to be at least part of it.
No,
but it doesn't make me feel better.
No, look, it doesn't make me feel better. You can point to the schedule you want to Bob and what you just said. Yeah, you got torched by some dude named Dortch. And I was the same way, Bob.
Dortch is getting a lot of play this
I was
week.
the exact same way. I wasn't reading a book, but I was, on my phone. I was messing around. I wasn't as heavily invested, at least when the team was on defense. When the team was on defense, I would look up, when the play was going on.
Really?
Look back down. Yeah, because I had no faith that the defense could stop anything at that point. Okay, first quarter, I'm dialed in. But when it became obvious that Arizona was just having their way with the Eagles defense, I wasn't as heavily invested as I normally would. And apathy did kind of set in. And then, the time where I'd really be dialed in was on offense because they would do something. But there were such long stretches in that game. That game was boring.
It was a boring game.
And I'm not even talking as an Eagles fan. As an NFL fan, that game was boring. It wasn't fun to watch. It
was
sucked.
two bad teams playing each other.
Yeah, it was.
Quite frankly. I mean, the performance was that was a game between two bad teams. The most emotion I showed, and here's exactly how it played out. I looked up from my book. I saw Dortch catch the pass. I saw him break a tackle, and I just went, let him score. Let him score.
Yes.
And then they tackled him, and I went, oh, Jesus. That was the reaction I had.
Because he would have scored, by the way. I went back and watched it yesterday.
Absolutely.
He absolutely would have scored.
Let him go.
And you would have had time. You stopped him in order to make a stand that ended up costing you the game.
Yeah.
It's really ugly. But one of the things that we look at is yesterday Tim McManus joined the best show ever. And he had commentary on the defense. It's the second cut, Pat. It's number 3 from Tim McManus. About where is this defense going? And I think I know why Pat and Bob maybe weren't as engaged watching this defense last Sunday. Listen to Tim.
I'm not so sure. I would love to spin something optimistic here. If there is an optimistic road to go down, it's the fact that Darius Slay is going to be back for the playoffs. Avonte Maddox, you would think, would start rounding into form. I thought he had a pretty bad game this past week, but of course he's just coming back off a long layoff. And you get Zach Cunningham back, but it's tough for me to sell that, especially after viewing what I viewed against Arizona, when you're getting gassed for 200-plus rushing yards against, at that time, a 3-win football team.
Yeah, I get it. Is that Tim sounds beaten, Pat. Now he's there every day. He's there living in it and breathing it. But it doesn't sound like he believes any change is coming.
No, and we talked to Tim before every pregame show, and just about every week. And Bob, you can back me up on this. Tim's kind of like, all right, I think this will be the week that it gets right, and we'll see this guy, and we'll see this, and new wrinkles and that. And probably around like week 11, week 12, the mood in the call kind of changed a little bit, and it wasn't necessarily, I think we're going to get this right. I think we're going to have a big game out of this guy and see new wrinkles. Yeah, the apathy kind of did set in a little bit, I think, with him, and with the entire fan base, where you just go, this team is what it is at this point. They're not changing. And that's what's frustrating about, you listen to post-game press conferences and you hear the players say, well, we got to fix it. We're running out of time. You're not fixing anything. Because you haven't fixed it. You had time to fix it. You didn't do it. I broke down on Tuesday that the first game of the season set up the entire season. I mean, you played a bad New England Patriots team and you squeaked by. And little did we know that would legitimately set up pretty much the entire season and how it would go. Where it's a team that is underachieving. And that's what this Eagles team has done. They've underachieved.
Now, you talk about the fact, though, Pat, that in your mind, this Brian Johnson, Jalen Hurts combination is maybe one of the biggest issues. And it's weird because as bad as the defense is, the offense is still 7th overall in the NFL. But you look at that combination being a big problem. What are you seeing?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a massive problem because you've got a guy in Brian Johnson who, let's call it what it is, was hired because he's Jalen Hurts' mentor, buddy, coach, whatever you want to call it, friend, yeah. But he was hired because of the connection with Jalen Hurts. And I'm not even talking as OC. I'm talking like as a staff member, he was hired because of that connection. He gets elevated to OC, and now you've got a situation where the quarterback, the most important player on your roster, is very, very, very friendly with an incompetent OC. So what are the players to do? Now, I don't know if Jalen Hurts is able to audible out of calls or not, and we talked about that this week, that you don't really see, Carson Wentz, it was kill. You knew it was coming. I don't really see a lot of signs that there's audibles going on, but maybe it's a situation of the blind faith that Jalen Hurts has in Brian Johnson, which is causing problems. Or maybe it's just simply you can't move on from Brian Johnson because of the fact that, mid-season, because of the fact that it might upset your quarterback.
Or you don't have somebody else.
Yeah, like it's got to be an issue. Like when you're friends with someone, it's tough to see their flaws at times and go, yeah, okay, well, this person isn't that great at this or that. And we probably had in this industry before where you're friends with somebody and you're friendly and you like them, but you really have to take a step back and go like, yeah, okay, this guy's a great guy and I like hanging out with him, but he's not very good at his job. And I think the connection with Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts is that situation where Jalen might need to take a step back and go, yeah, I probably need to audible a little bit more because this guy sucks. And I think it is a huge problem where if you had another OC that didn't have a built-in connection with your quarterback, you might have had a Desai situation where they already moved on from him. And maybe they didn't want to move on from both coordinators mid-season. I understand that. But, yeah, I think that the connection had such a bad trickle-down effect that's impacted this team in a negative way.
All right, let me go another way.
Please don't.
How about if you had problems, isn't it easier to go to a friend and talk about it than to go to someone who's been implemented as, this is your offensive coordinator, listen to him? They brought up the quarterback's coach. They brought up the guy that they said, he was close to, had conversations with last year. Right or wrong move, I think we all agreed at the beginning of the season it was the natural move. But shouldn't it be easier for Jalen Hurts to go to a guy that he's known since he was 4 and say, hey, look, this ain't working. How about if we try this?
That's where I'm going. I think that Jalen Hurts might be blinded by the fact that he has a friend in Brian Johnson. Like, I don't know if Jalen Hurts is able to recognize, because Brian Johnson is his friend, that the issue is Brian Johnson's play calling. That's where I think the issue could possibly lie. Whereas if it was another OC that you didn't have a connection with, your mind's more clear. You're able to see things differently. But when it's your friend, you want it to work out.
Because you want him to succeed.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, well, no. That wasn't his play call. That was my throw. That was the timing route. That was wide receivers lining up improperly. Like, look, there's no excuse for what we saw on offense where Jack Stoll is having trouble subbing in because they don't know the personnel package in Week 16 of the NFL. Like, that's that in college, let alone NFL. And we saw it. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Bob, but I do think that it's and normally, yes, I'd agree with you. But, no, I think he might be blinded.
I think he's good. I think it's clear from yesterday and re-listening to Adam Schefter, which, by the way, you can go to 975thefanatic.com and you can hear it in its entirety. I believe Adam Schefter was telling us what he's hearing is both coordinators. We already know Sean Desai's been demoted. He will most likely leave on his own. But I think Brian Johnson's gone too, hearing what he said.
It's funny because a lot of people taking the side of Brian Johnson saying, like, look at the offense. It's the same as last year. The numbers are similar. They played tougher teams this year than they did last year. They played 6 teams in the top 10 defensively this year. Of course, your numbers should be a little down, but they're not. A lot of people defending a Brian Johnson. And I hear both sides of it. Like, I just say what I think the organization will do. I think that they probably will let go of Brian Johnson because what you did wasn't enough.
Yeah,
you were 10-1. You made a change to defense, and you're still on a win 1 game in 5 skid.
Look, I mean, the numbers are what they are, but this is a situation where numbers can be deceiving, and you might point to points per game and the schedule, and you're playing tougher teams. When you look at this offense, it looks completely high schoolish compared to what we saw last season.
Yes.
And there to me is the issue. I can accept the fact that you're playing a tougher team and all that, but it's such a predictable offense where, John, you talked about it. You're in the press box, you can hear guys yelling what the play's going to be.
Oh,
and
that was the whole section in front of us, like going, here comes the bubble screen.
Exactly. Like we know, like 3rd and 18, 2nd and 20, you're getting a wide receiver bubble screen. Multiple times this season, we have seen them run the same play back-to-back times to the opposite end.
Thing is, Pat, I rolled my eyes when I was hearing the people yelling it outside the glass. I was rolling my eyes going, they're not doing that.
And that's the problem, right? Like,
and they did it.
It's 3rd and long, 3rd and 15, 2nd and 20, as I said. And it's in your mind of, oh, here comes the bubble screen. And the second thought you have is, There's
They're
no
not
there's no
doing
way
that.
they're that dumb. It hasn't worked. But the bubble screen for them, because Devontae Smith converted it in the San Francisco game for like 3rd and 20. The bubble screen for them is the guy in the rec league game that takes the half-court shot every single game because one time it went in. And all of a sudden he's taking it every single game. He's trying a half-court shot, and it never works. And you're like, can you please stop? I know one time it went in, but it doesn't work.
Here's one yesterday from, I believe it was from NFL Live. When teams are faced with 1st and 20 this year, I think the average has been 6 or 7 yards gained on first down. So across the NFL, when you are faced with the 1st and 20, the average has been, I think, 6.5 yards or 7 yards on the first play, which gets you into like a 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13, which I think with this offense is very manageable. But what that tells me is across the NFL, when teams are faced with 1st and 20, they say, don't let them get the big play, give them something underneath, and then knock them down. And so to me, the idea that you go with Jalen Hurts running the football twice makes no sense to me. Even if you said you wanted to do it once, it makes no sense on 1st and 20 to me that's the first choice you've got. With the wide receivers you have, with the tight end you have, and with the stats around the league saying when it's 1st and 20, teams play softer. They give you up a little bit in order to give you something underneath in order to get you into 2nd down and still 2nd and long.
Yeah, the Jalen Hurts running stuff, it's a big part of the offense. They haven't called it at good times this year, it seems. It's better when sometimes, look, it just works, so you got to keep going to it, and we saw that a lot last year. This year it seems to be more of it's better when it's called when it's unexpected. Not like, okay, we know we need 4 yards, Jalen Hurts is going to run it. That just doesn't seem to be working so much this year. That whole series when it started, or when it got to 1st and 20,
it's just weird.
Just got bad. I mean, they ran the same play 2 times in a row.
I think what they won't admit is that they just wanted to run clock. That they were like, okay, we got to run clock. We have to just take time off the clock or get Gannon to use a timeout. And Gannon didn't blink. He didn't use the timeout early.
No,
he felt, and that's also good on his
with
part.
the onside kick. Yeah, the onside kick was a genius move. And somebody said to me, was it the Super Bowl? Somebody said maybe the Eagles should have thought of doing that in the Super Bowl. To give Kansas City the ball and knowing they're going to get it back to score a touchdown to win. It was a genius move by him on a team that you have nothing to lose. Why not give it a try? They did. They succeeded. End of ball game.
Yeah, it was it still is absolutely crazy. The fallout of to me this season is the most unlikely Eagles season I've ever seen. As far as just sitting there at 10-1 after that Buffalo game, and I was thinking more, this team's got magic. This team has something up their sleeves.
Yeah.
This team is just every time they're facing the knife and they somehow elude and they make it they find a way to win. I was totally bluffed into that. And other people were calling this show or writing it and saying, I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about this. I know Seth Joyner on the postgame show on NBC when he talks, Seth Joyner gets ripped all the time. He gets ripped for being critical, and the thing was, he was calling it right all the time. He really was.
The fact that the defense was on the field for 92 plays against Buffalo, that was horrible. What I came on and said the day after was the good sign to me was that for the first time that I can remember, Jalen Hurts had to take an offense to go down and score a touchdown to win a game, and he did it. And they did it with relative ease, and they did it with really good play calling. And everything looked in order. You had Devontae Smith. You had A.J. Brown. You had Jalen Hurts scramble for a big gain. You did everything that we expected this offense. But that game, it appears, just took a toll on this team. And then you get
set them up for the
trampled.
49er game.
And then you get trampled by the 49ers. And I wonder, people go to that 49ers, trashing and say that's what did it. But how much of that defensive struggle, 92 plays against Buffalo, how much did that play into it? I wonder.
Hey, the Flyers will face the Blue Jackets tonight, and you'll hear it right here on 97.5 The Fanatic, so they're home. And, Pat, just as I asked you yesterday if they were, and I think it was a little condescending on my part. Are they like a cute little story? I wasn't diminishing what they're at, but it's that idea is that I want to see them now come home from this 1-5 road trip, even though they did get points in 2 of the 5 losses. I want to see them come home. Blue Jackets, Calgary. Take care of both of those games and sort of get right back on the horse to show this thing isn't going to become a perpetual slide.
Well, even if it does, who cares? Like
you really are that way right now.
Yeah,
I'm getting suckered in again. Going,
they're not going to do
wins
anything.
Wins and losses doesn't matter this year. I agree with. I kind of agree with you, Pat.
It really, really doesn't. Like if they go on a skid, like there's no expectations for this team. I mean, the Flyers and
you're right.
Danny Briere and Keith Jones, they're in such a great spot because they're just new, and they're not Chuck Fletcher, and they're not a team that's going to be buying at a deadline where you're going, what are you giving up assets for? And they're not going to botch a deadline if they are selling. And keep a James Van Riemsdyk and then come out and go, what? You think we didn't want to trade him? We want to stop. Like, they're not that. So because they're not that and because the previous person was so bad at their job, they're in a great spot because the fan base is pretty much satisfied no matter what they do. If they lose games, well, great. Okay. I mean, you're gaining draft equity. And if you win games, great. All right. See, look what a little change of scenery can do. And look at the burnt orange, right? We just changed the jerseys and everything worked out. Like, they're in a good spot.
Here's what I'm doing wrong, though, Pat. And Bob will probably get on me about this, too. 37 games into the season, and I'm checking the standings. And checking the playoffs.
And
I look at the playoff standings all the time.
Well, it's funny. I bet if we asked John Tortorella about that, he would say, yeah, you don't do that. He's going to extract probably as much from this team during a 12-game point streak as much as he will during a losing streak that, say, is 11 out of 12. I bet you he will because he'll learn. This is a season of John Tortorella and Danny Briere and Keith Jones learning about what type of player can they keep for this organization moving forward. You're not just going to figure out that type of player during winning streaks. You're also going to figure out that type of player during losing streaks, and maybe even more so. So, yeah, I don't think wins and losses matter as much this year as they do in other years.
I know I shouldn't be looking at them.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Stop doing that.
Every day I'm on the Flyers app, and I check what happened last night, where are they? Because I'm telling you right now, if it's 10 games to go in the season and they're still in the mix for a wild card, I'm going to be excited. I'll be excited by it because
playoff runs are always fun.
Yeah, you could be excited, and it's it's playoff hockey. I mean, it's the most
right,
probably
and it's another lesson learned, right, Pat?
Yeah, it's you're getting to me. If the Flyers ended up squeaking into the playoffs, I would look at it like the Phillies not last season, but the season before.
And you said the Marlins last year,
where
right?
You're just like that point. You're like, look, I mean, we're just getting some younger guys some playoff experience so they can see what it's like. I mean, you're not looking to. Realistically, you're not like they're going to go on a run.
Right.
You're just like, okay, well, the younger players, now at least they have a taste of it, and hopefully they can build on it.
You will hear more Flyers hockey tonight right here on The Fanatic as they get back in, and then a matinee game on Saturday, too. We have so much coming up, including Bob says, did some goodness come out of the A.J. Brown little, speech at his locker yesterday? And more importantly, what does Tim McManus feel about him deflecting blame from the coaches? You're going to hear all of that coming up, so stick around with us. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. I love Landis Block and Concrete. Jared Nice and his entire team up there in Souderton, Pennsylvania.
Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Tomorrow's First Friday, and we do have some seats for you if you want to get in. Coffee and breakfast will be provided by Homegrown Coffee and Creations, South Philly's favorite coffee and breakfast spot. Every trip to the stadium should begin at 1515 West Porter Street. We got tickets to give away to members of our studio audience tomorrow. We got Sixers-Knicks tickets, Flyers-Flames tickets, Flyers-Penguins tickets, all part of this upcoming homestand. We also will have it'll be great. This the ability to get into all the different teams tomorrow. Todd Fedoruk stops on by. Tom McGinnis will join us. Andrew DeCecco from Inside the Birds joins us. So a lot on the table tomorrow morning.
Yeah, come on in, eat, listen to us for a little bit, and you get to maybe win some tickets.
That's good.
Couple pairs of Flyers, pair of Sixers. That's cool.
Eat before Pat, too. So make sure that when the food comes in, Pat's on the air, and make sure you eat before him, because he is ready for it tomorrow. So I ask you this, Bob, is that yesterday we did a lot from the very beginning of the show today, and you got to hear some of the A.J. Brown comments about why he didn't speak and what he thinks about the team and what he admires about his head coach. Are you looking at this as like some launching off feel-good moment?
No, look, there is a really, really dark cloud over that team right now. And it's on the offensive side of the ball, even more so on the defensive side of the ball. The coaches, the players, nobody is exempt here. It goes all the way up to Jeffrey Lurie in some people's minds, and maybe rightfully so. You needed something to kind of ease the tension a little bit. Did A.J. Brown do that yesterday? Maybe a little.
He's likable to listen to.
Yeah, maybe the fact that you need something so desperately to make you feel good that did a little something more than it should. Because to me, he didn't say anything wrong. He said all the right things. Doesn't really matter to me. I don't think it's going to help the defense get off the field in third downs. It just was said. Okay, he's a real likable character, in my opinion. Can it help? Ultimately, maybe not, but maybe it brings some lightness to a very dark situation right now. Maybe him saying, yeah, it's on me, and I apologize to my teammates for having to speak for me because I didn't speak to the media. Maybe all that is just something fun that, I don't know, sometimes the littlest of things make you feel a little bit better. Do I think I saw somebody who's supposed to be prominent, I'll say it, covering the team, saying that this is the turning point of the season.
Really? Why?
Oh, my God.
What does this have to do with tackling? What does this have to do with poor offensive execution and lousy game plan calling?
I don't understand that part of it. Did they need some lightness, some joy, some fun, something that may have brought a little bit to the locker room yesterday? But when you get down to business, it's not going to help anybody make tackles on 3rd and 6.
Pat was talking about it, that he didn't see the people that yesterday, and there was tons of it on my timeline, of people being like, man, AJ just set the record straight and bad media and now this team's this is great. This is the launching off point. I don't get it. I don't understand anything that I heard there. And one thing I did hear, though, again, and Pat, I want to go back to AJ Brown, his number 2 soundbite, where he talks about what Nick Sirianni sort of means and what Nick Sirianni does for this franchise. And I want you to hear it and want to react to it.
People say I'm beefing with Nick. I'm not mad at Nick. I'm not mad at nobody. Like we have a great relationship. Like I said, I got a ton of respect for Nick. But like I said, he take over for us when it be us, And I even said, for example, I'm gonna get detailed. For example, I know that's what y'all want anyway, but I'm gonna get detailed. Like for the Seattle game, that was on us. Like we messed that up. We improvised and we went on our own, and Nick came out and said, "Oh, I wanted to try to get a flag or something crazy like that." It's like he really made himself look like a fool for us. I have nothing but respect for him, like, you know what I'm saying? Because not all coaches do that, you know what I'm saying? So like, we ride with Nick, we ride with Brian. We just got to come out. We just got to play ball.
I would ask why A.J. Brown doesn't just run the play. I mean, it's honestly, it's one of the things yesterday, though, that did annoy me. Because it would have been very easy for A.J. Brown or Jalen Hurts to come out after that game and said, that's who improvised. Because it's the guy who threw him the ball and the guy who went off script to try to – we went on our own. We did our own thing. To me, that would have been real easy. Why couldn't Jalen Hurts say, instead of his, as Pat says, fortune cookies after the Seattle game, why couldn't Jalen Hurts in leadership say, that's on me? I made the decision to go for the home run there. AJ and I decided we saw something. We went for it. It wasn't the play call. We decided to go for it. I don't know why that couldn't have been done and why that can't be articulated. Because
what
to me,
what difference does it make? Like, I think in their minds, I'm not saying that to you. What I'm saying is, in their minds, if I say that, does that make my team better?
Well, it takes the heat off the coaches who got grief.
That's
they
why
got grief for it for a week.
That's because the coach came out and said that they were looking for a penalty flag.
Because they didn't take ownership of it.
I don't think they have to take ownership of it. I mean, like, how many bad plays have they run this year? Do they have to break down every bad play that they had and say, this was what I was saying, this was what I was saying? I understand it's the end of the game.
It's 20 seconds to go in the game.
They thought they saw something that they can see a football game a lot better than me and you. They thought they saw something. They went for it. Not defending wasn't the brightest decision, but there it is. That's what happened. Him saying it and specifically going over it right after the game.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a big deal that you needed 10 yards for a field goal attempt and you went for a high risk play that ended up backfiring on you. That to me, you went off script. I think that's a big deal for the coach, for the quarterback and the wide receiver to take ownership of. Where do you fall on that, Pat? I mean, you does it matter to you because for 2 weeks that's not something you can talk about after a game?
It doesn't really matter to me too much.
Wow,
not all that much.
Okay,
like
tell me why.
It doesn't change what happened.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Doesn't make me feel better one way or the other.
Doesn't it explain what happens though?
It does, but it still don't. I don't feel better about the situation. They basically audibled. I mean, that's
in 20 seconds to go in a game when you needed 10 yards.
That's the one. Well, it's one of those situations of I'm wondering how much pull Jalen Hurts has in that offense, and I'm wondering if he's able to audible. And AJ Brown just kind of told us, well, yeah, we audibled.
He took you behind the curtain.
Okay, they audibled. It didn't work out. Maybe it was a situation where AJ Brown was like, dude, I'm cooking this dude. I can get him. I wouldn't have done it, but A.J. Brown also started off that impromptu presser by saying, if you throw me the ball 105 times, I'm going to catch 106. Like, he's uber confident. I wouldn't have taken the shot anyway just because the game situation didn't need it, but
it didn't need that. See, that's the difference between like where you're bringing up the point of how many times do we know if they've done this during the season. But I mean, the game down and distance and game clock management in the end of a game when you probably had 3 plays left, potentially with that clock left. To me, that matters. To me, it matters because I'm thinking, what foolish thing is Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson doing when in reality it was my quarterback and my wide receiver going rogue? And it wasn't talked about for 3 weeks.
Well, it hasn't been talked about for 2 years, maybe the plays that they changed that work. Have we ever heard that?
No, I'm talking about if they do it in the first quarter, it's a big difference between doing it with 20 seconds to go when you needed 10 yards.
You don't know when it ever happened before. It could have happened in the fourth quarter of a game. Maybe it happened against the Buffalo Bills, and they never said anything in overtime. I don't know because they've never told us before.
Does it tell you that they disrespect the play calls?
No. It tells me that they're all professionals. And look, professional sports isn't I am coach, you are player. I call this, you do that. It's a collaboration. These are professional football players, professional basketball players. Somebody on our YouTube said, "How come they're allowed to call the head coach Nick?" I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, these are all professionals. That's like, should I call you Mr. Kincade?"
No.
I mean, what like
it is crazy.
It is a collaboration of everything. You're the player. I'm the coach. I'm seeing how good you are at doing this. I'm going to help you get better as a player. I'm going to make you better as a coach because I can do this stuff well. It's a collaboration. It's not a I say all and you do what I say. It's just not that in my belief and learning.
Same situation that they were in Seattle. Andy Reid and Mahomes. And Andy Reid calls in the play to Mahomes and goes, "Hey, we have a play here. We're trying to get into field goal range to get this game to overtime." And instead, Mahomes decides, no, I'm changing the play and going that. I don't believe he's overriding Andy Reid. I believe plays break down and Mahomes bails him out because Andy Reid's talked about that on some of his own interviews. But I don't believe that Mahomes is going into the huddle going, I don't like his play call. We're going for broke.
It might not be a case that he didn't like the play call of Brian Johnson. It could have been a case that A.J. Brown over-talked him into saying, like, yeah, but we can win this game right now on this play. And like I said before, Nick Sirianni, one of his MOs is explosive plays. You hear it all the time.
Yes, he does. He says it a lot.
Every press conference, explosive plays. Well, if you're telling your players that you're looking for explosive plays, and the player thinks he sees something and they have the autonomy to go out and say, like, look, you don't think this has been talked about before where those guys get together with Sirianni and Brian Johnson and say, hey, if we see something out there, what's the protocol here? Probably the first day of practice, first week of practice. Are we cool to go with it? Yeah. If you see an explosive play and you think it's better than the play we're calling, absolutely. That's on you. We see it all the time. We saw it with Quez Watkins and A.J. Brown when they threw the interception. They had no idea what was going on. He's giving them hand signals like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. A.J. Brown doesn't run because he knows Quez made the call that he's going deep. The play didn't work, but I would assume that there's a lot more of it that goes on than we even know.
But with 20 seconds to go, do you believe a lot goes on? Because I do not. I don't believe that when the game's on the line, Matthew Stafford is telling Sean McVay, no, I don't like that play call. I'm going with my own.
You keep going with this, I don't like that play call. I'm not saying that they're saying that I don't like that play call. What I'm saying is I might see something better.
Okay.
Like something like that. Yeah, I would tell you, if I'm a coach and I make a play call and my players say, I see something different, whether it works or not, do I have the trust in the players to do that? I hope so.
Well, Brian Johnson's play call schemed, his design schemed Kenny Gainwell open and Devontae Smith open. I mean, they were wide open on the sideline for that one. Tim McManus joined the best show ever yesterday, and he talked about A.J. Brown sort of saying, we're going to deflect the blame away from the coaches.
Yeah, I think he really wanted to shift the blame away from the coaches and more towards himself and towards the players. Like, he went out of his way throughout that conversation that we had with him today to make sure that we knew that he doesn't have a beef with Nick, that he doesn't think the problem is Nick or the play calling or Brian Johnson. He thinks that it rests on the players. And he took us back to the late in the Seattle game where Jalen Hurts throws that long pass to A.J. Brown that ends up being intercepted and cost the Eagles the chance of kicking the field goal. And he told us that they improvised, like him and Jalen improvised on that play, which means that they went away from the play call, which is really interesting in its own right. But to prove the point of that, Sirianni went out there and he kind of fumbled in his explanation, being like, well, we were just trying to get a PI. That's one of the outcomes. And Brown said, like, he basically made a fool of himself to protect us.
I just don't understand why you would let somebody do that. I guess I just wouldn't. I don't understand why you would let somebody else, as his own words, look foolish, look like the fool, when you know what the answer is, and you can easily make an explanation for it, saying we thought we saw a big play opportunity, we took it. I think I don't understand why you would let your head coach look like a fool. I just don't. It's not. You should take that.
Well, the reaction was after the game. I think Sirianni came out. Was it after the game or
it was
the
after
presser
the game.
The day after that he said, yeah, we were looking for a flag?
No, that was the day after. Correct.
Yeah,
that was the next press conference.
So after the game, Jalen Hurts doesn't throw himself or A.J. Brown under the bus, doesn't give full detail of what happened on that last play. The next day, the coach comes out and says, yeah, well, we were looking for a flag there or whatever. The players, like I said before, I don't know how much the players listen to coaches' press conferences. I've gone to players and say, coach said this. Oh, really? They don't, think about it. The day after press conference, you think they're turning on the radio to listen to Nick Sirianni?
Well, when you're talking about leadership, to me, that would be leadership.
What, listening to your coach at a press conference?
I took the responsibility for it after the game. I made an audible. I went away from the play call. We went for broke, but we did it because of this, and explain yourself. I think that's leadership. I don't think leadership is letting your head coach take the blame for it.
Well, he didn't have a chance. I mean, he talked after the game. Sirianni said what he said the day after.
Because nobody had taken responsibility for it, in my mind.
Jalen Hurts came out and said, I didn't play to the standard. Under that is probably an umbrella of 12 plays that he made that game that he didn't like, the last one being one of them. I don't expect him to go into detail of what exact plays he didn't do well in.
Hey, Biscuit, what's going on this morning, brother?
Hey, what's going on?
What are you feeling about this defense, Biscuit?
Man, this defense is soft. I haven't seen a guy that can hit since Brian Dawkins. They're real soft. I mean, from top to bottom.
Wait a minute. Hassan Reddick's not soft.
Listen. If you're constantly getting chipped by the tight end and double team, you take him out of the equation. You haven't heard his name lately, have you?
Well, that's scheme, isn't it?
Exactly.
No, I mean, you're being out-schemed. This defense is not giving it what you need.
You know what? It's amazing. Everybody say that one person. Give me another person.
What as far as an impact player?
Yes, as an impact player.
Well, I mean, I'm going to tell you that there's nobody to me in the secondary that is making an impact.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, and that's it, and that's the problem. Biscuit, take care of those kids today on the road.
Biscuit's the man. There isn't. On our pregame show on Sunday, I gave my 3 keys to the game, and one of them was the defense has to make a play. There has to be a player that makes a play during this game, and Sidney Brown did that. They made no other plays during that game. I mean, pretty much none. They were on the field for 40 freaking minutes.
That was unbelievable.
I mean, Arizona, when that happens, a team's doing whatever they want to you offensively, and you're just taking it.
Do you know they scored, Pat, 29 points in the second half, and Arizona had not scored 29 points except for one game the whole year? Cool. They scored 29 points and a half against the Eagles defense. They had only scored 29 in a game once.
Love hearing that.
It was atrocious, but it was so unheard of. It was so unbelievable that that's the way this game worked out.
Yeah, it was awful. It was laughable. It got to be apathetic. I mean, it was one of those games where you just didn't feel like they were going to take it over. And if we're all being honest with ourselves, can you say you're surprised it was that close?
No, I'm not surprised that it was that close because, but I am surprised how about this way? When Arizona tied the game 21-21, I was in complete confidence that the Eagles were going to drive down the field, score a touchdown, and take the lead. They did it. I just thought at some point there's a stop coming. It's the Arizona Cardinals. There's a stop coming. It never came. And again, that's foolish on my part.
No, it's not.
Because I wasn't believing what I was seeing with my own eyes.
Well, you also saw an Eagles offense that was playing pretty well.
I did.
If we're being honest with ourselves, the limited times they had the ball, save that last drive, they did pretty well going up and down the field. Beautiful touchdown passes to Julio Jones twice. They did some very good things offensively when they had the ball, but they didn't have the ball enough to, be able to score enough to outscore the Cardinals.
The Pat has a question we're going to get into coming up about Nick Sirianni. And I'll tell you, when I read his question, I thought it was a little over the top for where they are right now. But after I heard A.J. Brown yesterday, I believe it might be legitimate. And I believe that there may be people in the front office that heard it. You'll hear Pat's question coming up in just a few moments here. Chief Dan sends in a note. He says, did you ever hear that the fish rots from the head first? It's the responsibility. Yeah. Doesn't it all go to the head coach here that he's not delivering? I didn't hear any endorsement of we love our coaches because they're really good at what they do.
All right, I've sat in on film sessions with coaches. I've seen exactly what they want to do in certain situations. Then I've sat at a game, and I said, oh, here it comes. Okay, this is the play we just went over the other day where the ball goes from A to B, B to C, and back to A for this. And they draw it up, they call it, and the pass from B to C gets intercepted. And it's like, what in the holy hell? I saw it. It was a good play. I've seen it when it was run correctly. A very good play. You're usually going to get really good results. And for some reason, one guy threw it to the other team.
Was it the play? Something you're referencing there? Was it bad execution or was it okay?
The guy threw
it wasn't that the other team did something.
The execution of the play is really good.
Okay,
and then the guy doesn't get the second pass off, and it's like, what in the holy hell? You can do. We've all had it happen. You design a play, it looks like a really good play. You take it down to the T, and then the guy throws a bad pass, or the guy doesn't cut up the hole he's supposed to cut through, and it's like, what? I don't know what more to do.
I haven't seen the one thing is with Brian Johnson, Pat. I haven't seen a lot of that this year, where I've gone, okay, that play looked perfect. Oh, like Jalen Hurts did something really like stupid that did it. Maybe the Jets game. Maybe that Jets game which was really his worst game of the year.
Yeah, he did not play well in that game.
And then, but I haven't seen a ton of that this year.
No,
where I'm saying, man, Brian Johnson, that play looks beautiful. Oh, they just missed,
Yeah, I just got corrected saying that the second touchdown pass to Julio Jones wasn't beautiful. It got tipped. You're right. I was totally – but the play design was beautiful enough that he was wide open, and that even though the ball was tipped, he still got it for a touchdown. So
and Jack Stoll might have been coming in for him.
Yeah.
I don't understand. A guy has 2 touchdowns already in the game. He's winning his matchup, and Jack Stoll might be confused about whether he deserves to begin.
That was kind of strange.
Not good. We have game time coming up at the bottom of the hour. Pat, life-changing prizes, fabulous prizes. What are you putting in?
All that.
And something crunchy, I understand.
Yeah.
Is also included.
You got to keep listening. That's a tease.
See, there you go. But Pat's got a question on Nick Sirianni, and I don't think it's over the top, despite what Adam Schefter says. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. I don't consider myself the spokesperson for H&H Heating and Air Conditioning. Your way at the bottom of the hour. This makes me think of Game Time. And I understand there's some crunchy, wise snacks that are on the table, too, during Game Time today, which is great. Always love good something crunchy. Whether it's the morning or the afternoon or the night, I can go for it.
I had some Vietnamese food yesterday with fried crunchy noodles. Delicious.
Okay, Vietnamese food. I have never
had it?
Never done it.
No, we used to do it on Friday nights all the time at the Daily News. Eddie Barkowitz would pick it up. And I had a hankering for it yesterday, and I have a Vietnamese place right near my house, so delicious.
Well, Pat had a question, and it was in regards to something that Adam Schefter said yesterday. And I think that it's important that Pat put this question on the table, despite what Adam told us.
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Hi.
Hello, Pat.
So Adam Schefter yesterday said that both coordinators would be gone, but he didn't really think that Nick Sirianni would be fired. Look, preface this with saying, I think if you went back to the same time period and you talked about Doug Peterson, Adam Schefter didn't think he would be fired. He ends up getting fired. So.
He said, by the way, the Saturday before Doug was fired, Adam did say he did not think he'd be fired.
Yeah.
So you're right about that.
And let's think. I don't think. Think is the key word there. I don't think you'll be fired. But I'm going to ask you guys what you would do. Because if he fails to win a playoff game and he fails to stop this downward trajectory, what do you do? What do you do with him? You bringing him back for another year and let him reset? Or you just going, you know what? Last year you had great coordinators and you delegated and it worked phenomenally. All right. You overachieved and you went to the Super Bowl and all that. But when push came to shove and you actually had to kind of prove your merit, you failed. And you're an offensive mind and your offense was uncreative. So are you keeping him or are you not?
I know this. I am not. I don't know that I'd have the guts to pull the trigger on a guy who's won as much as he has. But what I would say, Pat, is this, if this team fizzles out, doesn't win another game, I have zero confidence that he'll be able to turn things around and next year go back to this team being a true legitimate Super Bowl contender. But I don't know if I was Jeffrey Lurie would have the guts to do it, considering how many games he's won in his first 3 years.
Yeah, I find it hard going away from a guy. He is a guy that oversaw a team go 34-10 at one point in 44 games. That's pretty damn good. Whether he was relegating, whether it was because of coordinators, somehow he got this team to 10-1 this year, in spite of us saying right now that both the offensive and defensive coordinators were trash. I can't. They could lose next week and the week after. I don't think that the team would pull the trigger. I don't.
Who's hiring the coordinator, Pat? In your mind, if they do bring him back, how much of a voice do you think he has in who the coordinators are? How much would you trust his voice?
I don't know how much of a voice he had this time. I mean, in fairness, but
right.
If he had a good voice, then no. If he didn't have a good voice, then yeah. Give him a voice if he didn't have any voice last time. I think he had a voice, and I think he was cool with what happened. But I'm torn. I'm torn on what to do.
Okay, Jeffrey Lurie calls you right now and says, Pat, if we lose out, what are you? Well, first of all, you better be taking the call.
I don't have much faith in the guy. If I'm being honest,
I wouldn't have faith either. If they lose out, I'm not going to have faith.
I got to go to the players and see what they say, what they think. Where are they? Especially your leaders on the team. Where did this all go bad? What happened? So many questions to be answered. And obviously it all falls under the umbrella, as I've said before, of Nick Sirianni. I don't know that you can go, a guy that turned a 2-5 season around to a 9-7 season, then went 14-3, went to a Super Bowl, then started 10-1. I don't know if I could throw all of that away and base stuff on 7 games.
Andrew asks, why is A.J. Brown the only person, Pat, who seems to be coming out and defending the coaches versus putting the blame on the players? And he says, is either A.J. Brown doing that differently than his peers, or Is there something else at play here, too? It is an interesting thought. I never even thought about that. You don't hear the veteran leadership on this team coming out and publicly really throwing life vests to these coaches.
No, I mean, Jason Kelsey came out and said, man, we stink right now and we got to be better. Paraphrasing, obviously.
Tell us something we don't know, though. I mean,
as a player, I'm taking it all too. I'm not saying anything about coaches and stuff like that.
No, but I mean, giving them a lifeline, saying, "Hey, blame us. Don't blame the coaches," is what he's saying. He's saying, "How come AJ Brown's the only one who's really doing that?"
Well, that's what I said. I think Jason Kelsey, when they come out and say we have to be better, and they talk all about themselves and they don't bring up the coaches, I think that's pretty much the same thing.
I don't know if this team believes in it, Pat. That's the big thing is that, and we'll never know till the end of the year. And you keep talking about that Jeff McClain piece that we know is going to come at some point.
Oh, it's coming.
That's going to tell us what really was going on. I mean, is that behind the scenes, I don't believe the players in this room are firmly behind the coaching staff and saying, yep, let's roll it back next year. I don't believe they would at all.
There's nothing to be behind right now at all. Are you behind the quarterback? No, we've lost 5 or 6 games or 4 or 5, whatever it is. Are you behind the defense, the defensive coordinator? No, they suck over the last few days. And look, this could be players talking about themselves. Am I behind the offense? No, because they've seemed incompetent at times this year. Like, I don't think there's any goodness really going on down there right now. So you have to look at the whole picture, though. I mean, honestly, if you're talking about what Pat brings up, firing Nick Sirianni, you're basically looking at a 7-game stretch, as opposed to looking at a 10-1 start, a Super Bowl run in a 14-3 season, and turning around a 2-5 season into a playoff run. I mean, that, to me, kind of outweighs, okay, this has been a bad stretch of 7 games, but you cannot forget the other stuff either.
And I think Jeffrey Lurie would have to ask you, Pat, if he's asking you, is how much of this is on Howie and roster construction? That would probably have to end up being part of the equation too.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, how much is this rolls back on Howie? Because he didn't do a good job, but nobody was saying that in August. Nobody was saying. We asked questions about the linebacker position, but the overall impression was this is one of the best rosters in the NFL.
And offensively, I'll still say it is.
I agree with you.
I mean, look at the Pro Bowl. We didn't talk about the Pro Bowl, and that doesn't mean jack crap to me. But the NFL sees fit to give almost every offensive lineman on that Eagles front some shot at a Pro Bowl. Either you're a first teamer or you're an alternate.
And congratulations to them.
Yeah, and so many other guys on that offense, same thing too. So, yeah, we all thought that the offense was going to overcome whatever deficiencies the defense would have. Defense deficiencies have been worse than what the offense can overcome.
Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson. Congratulations on that. And then alternates, Jordan Mailata and otherwise. I have not, I don't know. I think if you talk about Tua's, I've expected more out of Jordan Mailata than I've seen this year. And down the stretch, the penalties have been killer, have just been crushing them.
Yeah, he had a bad one the other day.
Like it's 3 in the last 2 games, and 2 of them at very critical moments where you can't have it. And honestly, the entire 1st and 20 that we've obsessed on all week long, all was because of him and an unforced error. That's the jumping off.
I mean, if he didn't hold there, it's probably a 4-yard loss.
Yeah.
Which is, better. I don't know. Would you rather have 2nd and 14 or 1st and 20?
And maybe maybe the natural reaction is for him to do that.
Yeah.
So, as far as just instinctually. We have your opportunity to win life-changing prizes. Here's Pat Egan with Game Time.
Yeah, I have technical difficulties today. It's been fun. But you know what is fun? Game time. Game time's also fun. And today we have poor descriptions of movie titles. All right? So I'm going to give you a horrible description of a movie title, very blunt. You just have to tell me what that movie is, because movies are entertaining and the Eagles are not right now. 610-632-0975.
If the Eagles were a movie, what would be the title, Matt? I mean, seriously.
Titanic. Titanic would be the title of that one. Thank you. We are going to go to the phone, 610-632-0975. And then the caller, before I give the description, will be able to pick one of you gentlemen and you guys will be their lifeline.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Today's prizes include Temple men's basketball tickets to go see them play Wichita State, a pair of tickets to go see the Flyers Flames on Saturday, a pair of tickets for Flyers Penguins on Monday, a pair of tickets for Sixers Knicks tomorrow, a pair of tickets to go see Motley Crue on May 3rd, and a pair of tickets to go see Joe Gatto of Impractical Jokers on January 19th. 610-632-0975. Let's go to Kenny in Mayfair.
Kenny, welcome aboard, buddy.
Morning, guys. Great show.
Thank you, man.
All right, Kenny, which guy, Bob or John, do you want to be your lifeline?
I'm going with John.
John? Okay.
My man.
Here we go.
Johnny, and Kenny, tell me, rock, hammers, and horny posters are your biggest friend in prison besides some guy named Red? Rock, hammers, and horny posters are your biggest friend in prison besides some guy named Red.
Kenny, is that Shawshank? It seemed.
Shawshank Redemption, absolutely. I don't think that's what Frank Darabont wanted the
I don't
description
think
to be.
that's what exactly.
Kenny, you just won a pair of tickets to go see the Flyers and Flames Saturday, Wells Fargo Center. Get tickets at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com.
Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Good matchup there. That'll be good.
Let's go to Mitch in Cherry Hill, who's up next.
Hi, Mitch.
Hey, good morning, guys.
What's up, Mitch?
All right, Mitch, do you want John or Bob as your lifeline?
Bob.
All right, Bob. Bold strategy there. All right, Mitch, it's probably just on you then. All right. Baby survives and grows up to be a nerd who needs his friends to constantly bail him out against a guy with no nose. And after 8 movies, he's still a virgin. What is that movie? Once again, baby survives and grows up to be a nerd who needs his friends to constantly bail him out against a guy with no nose. And after 8 movies, he's still a virgin. What is that movie?
I could use a lifeline here.
Oh, Mitch. God, I was going to go with Superman, but
That's what I was leaning towards also, but it can't be.
no nose. A guy with no nose.
You got 5 seconds.
Oh, no.
Shoot, Mitch. I am so sorry. I got no clue. Egan stumped me again.
Is that an
Harry
easy
Potter,
one?
gentlemen. Harry Potter.
I would know Harry Potter.
All right, Voldemort, no nose, 8 movies, hasn't gotten laid.
Sorry, Mitch.
Most famous
No
wizard
problem.
in the wizard
Thanks, guys.
world hasn't gotten laid.
Sorry, Mitch.
Sorry, Mitch.
No.
All right.
Let's
There you go,
let's go to
Harmony or whatever name you gave it up. What's her name? What's the girl's name?
Hermione. No,
Hermione?
Hermione goes with his best friend.
Oh, she goes with
Yeah.
the redhead?
Yeah,
Hermione.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's go with
Okay.
Jarrett in
Mitch.
Levittown. Let's go with Jarrett in Levittown. Who's up
Jared,
next.
good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
All right, Jarrett. Which one of these guys do you want to be your lifeline?
I'll go with John.
Yeah,
Good move.
All right, your movie is the description: dances with wolves, but instead it's with giant blue people, and it's 3.5 hours long. What is that movie? Dances with wolves, but instead you got blue people, and it's 3.5 hours long.
Jared, I think it's Avatar. What do you think?
Yeah, Avatar.
Yeah,
it
we'll
is
go with that
Avatar.
one. By the way, a great ride at Disney. Worth getting the
Great
fast
ride,
pass for.
Mediocre movie. Pair of tickets to go see head coach Adam Fisher and the Temple men's basketball team battle Wichita State Sunday at 1 at the Lee Core Center. Tickets for kids on game day are only $10. Visit owlstix.com for details.
I didn't make it through the movie. I tried twice at home and did not make it
First
through.
one I was kind of bored with. Second one, I mean, visually they're stunning, but like storyline.
Yes.
I need something for 3.5 hours. All right, let's go with Liam in Conshohocken up next.
Good morning, Liam.
Good morning, guys.
All right, Liam, who do you want to be your lifeline, John or Bob?
I'm gonna have to go with John.
All right, movie here. Serial killer puts a head inside a box and it sends Brad Pitt crying like he's watching, like he's an Eagles fan watching the team's defense. Once again, serial killer puts a head inside a box and it sends Brad Pitt crying like he's an Eagles fan watching the team's defense. What movie?
Liam, it's a number. And it's a lucky number. Lucky 7. How about 7?
Well, Liam tried to tell you were talking all over Liam. This isn't your game. It's Liam's game. You're a lifeline, sir. I apologize for him, Liam.
Liam, I don't apologize that you
Liam,
won.
congratulations. You have won a pair of tickets to go see the Sixers and Knicks tomorrow.
Ooh, that's nice.
Wells Fargo Center. To purchase tickets for any 76ers game, visit Ticketmaster.com/76ers.
There's going to be some fur-lined boots tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Friday night.
Right now, we look like the Cardinals offense, just rolling along.
The
All
apple-bottom jeans tomorrow night and the fur-lined boots.
Let's go with Robert in New Jersey, who's going to be up next. Robert.
wait a minute. I'm sorry.
line 1.
Hold on. Robert, good morning.
How does my cum taste? Pat, open your mouth up, baby.
Oh,
There you go. It didn't really. Yeah, it really didn't
got
work.
him. Got
That didn't
him.
work. See,
Come
that's-
on, B Gun.
Come on.
Brennan Gunn's been here long enough to know who that guy is. I'm embarrassed for him. All right, let's go to and 610-632-0975.
Yes, let it breathe a little
get
bit.
mad at it.
No.
Let's go to Ray in Washington Township up next.
You didn't answer his question.
I did. It's salty.
Hi, Ray.
What's up, Ray?
What's up, Ray?
How we doing? Good morning, guys.
We were good until the last call, Ray. But you know what? Someone has to ask the tough questions. All right, who do you want to have your lifeline, Bob or John?
Let's go with Bob on this one.
All right, Bob. Here we go. Bob, I think you got. Bob,
don't know movies.
Bob, I think you got this one.
I think you do too.
All right, I'm trying, Ray.
Weird dude with a sweet tooth kills 5 kids and gives away his home and office to the poor kid in the turtleneck. Once again, weird dude with a sweet tooth kills 5 kids, all to give away his home and office to the poor kid in the turtleneck.
Ray, you got it?
I was thinking Willy Wonka.
Yeah, right.
I think you're
Absolutely.
right. Way to go,
It
Ray.
is, in fact, Willy Wonka.
Attaboy.
Willy Wonka just won you a pair of tickets to go see the Flyers and Penguins Monday at the Wells Fargo Center. Get tickets at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com for details. All right, let's go to.
I'm still thinking of the question you didn't answer.
I did answer it.
Oh, you did answer it. Yes,
absolutely.
there you go. All right, here we go. Where we going?
Mac in South Philly is up next.
What's up, Mac?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, buddy?
All right, Mac, who do you want, Bob or John?
Give me John.
All right, John, well, both of you guys. The movie is Guy takes 3 hours to build a bomb. The bomb goes off. Guy regrets building a bomb. What's the movie?
Mac, you know this one, right?
Well, I mean, guy takes 3 hours to build a bomb.
I've got it if you don't have it.
Oh, is this Oppenheimer?
It is Oppenheimer.
It might have been 3 hours and 10 minutes. Who's counting? Yeah, it's Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer just.
Damn, you guys want recent with him.
Yeah, he just won you a pair of tickets. Jay Robert just won you a pair of tickets to go see Motley Crue May 3rd, Hard Rock Live at Edis Arena at the Hard Rock Hotel Casino in Atlantic City. Tickets for both the May 3rd and 4th shows are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
It was either Oppenheimer or Kaczynski.
Yeah,
it was one of those two movies.
All right, let's go to who we got next.
How about Tony?
Tony, yeah, Tony Northeast. We got a
Hi,
few more of
Tony.
these.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
Tony, who do you want, Bob or John, as your lifeline?
Let's go with John. He seems like he knows this a little better.
Okay, the movie.
Look at Bob.
hard.
Look at Bob.
That's fine with me.
The movie. Hey, that last time Bob crushed it.
He did.
All right, the movie is Guy who lives the most incredible life possible doesn't realize it because he's too infatuated with the girl who dies of AIDS and leaves him as a single father.
You know this one. You know this one, Tony. Yeah.
Forrest Gump is correct.
One of the biggest villains ever in cinematic history.
Yeah,
Jenny.
Yeah, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what
Jenny.
you're to get. But you know what, Tony? What you're going to get is a pair of tickets to go see Joe Gatto of the Impractical Jokers on January 19th at the Met Philadelphia. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com.
Very talented guy.
Yes, he's hilarious.
He is really,
probably
really
my favorite
good.
of the group.
I've never seen him do. I want to see more.
I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure
I'm
it'll
sure
make
it'll
you
be
chuckle.
great.
We got a Brenton in Harrisburg up next.
What's up, Brenton?
Hey, good morning.
All right, who do you want, Brenton, John, or Bob?
John's on a hot streak. I go with John.
All right, the movie is Toxic Masculinity is on full display as a man starts a club with his imaginary friend, but he refuses to talk about it.
Okay, you know this one, right, Brenton? Because I do if you don't.
Okay, John, going with you.
Fight Club.
Fight Club, yeah, John, you're rolling. Yeah.
You're the
yeah.
man, John.
John,
There we go,
you were
Brenton.
rolling. Yes, Brenton, you have won a pair of tickets to go see Temple Heads basketball coach Adam Fisher and the men's basketball team battle Wichita State Sunday at 1 Lee Core Center. Tickets on game day, just $10. Visit alicetix.com. Let's get 2 more.
Okay.
We got 2 more. Let's go to, we got
Where you going?
Hamza.
Hamza
in Norristown.
What's going on, Hamza?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
All right, who do you want? Do you want Bob or John?
Give me Bob.
I love it. I love it. All right. No, Bob, I think you got this one too, bud. Yeah.
Bob's like, oh, jeez.
No, Bob, this is a good one. Smart janitor ends up quitting job to do math.
Oh, that's go ahead, Hamza.
It's a Matt Damon.
What was that?
Can't hear.
There we go.
Give me Goodwill Hunting.
Goodwill
Hunting.
There you
Hunting.
go.
Good
Excellent,
job, buddy.
Hamza.
Yeah, see, you didn't even need Bob. Absolutely, yes. Goodwill Hunting is going to get you Flyers and Flames Sunday tickets, or Saturday tickets. Wells Fargo Center games at 1 o'clock. Get tickets at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com.
I like some of these. These are very good.
Let's get the last one here. Let's go to Billy in Philly.
Billy, you're last up, buddy. Let's make it a winner.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
All right, who do you want, John or Bob?
Give me John.
Okay. A lawyer drinking and driving results in bad hockey players becoming good hockey players, and all they needed was a cake eater.
I've got it for you if you don't have it, Billy.
Oh, man, I'm drawing a blank here.
That is Gordon Bombay and the Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks is correct. When DUIs pay off.
It is. It's a great Disney theme. The DUI, it was the theme in Bambi. It was the theme in Snow White.
DUIs, man.
Wow.
A pair of tickets to go see Sixers and Knicks tomorrow at Wells Fargo Center, Philly. Oh, I'm sorry.
You getting choked up,
yeah,
Pat?
I get choked up when I think about OG Anunoby in a Knicks uniform. To purchase tickets for any 76ers game, visit Ticketmaster.com/76ers.
And all winners get the prize plus a box of Wise chips?
Yes, every single winner that we had is going to get a box of Wise Snacks. Wise Snacks is giving away authentic pro football jerseys to 100 lucky fans. Munch the good vibe on game day with Wise Snacks. Go to wisegameday.com for your chance to win one of those 100 jerseys.
Who doesn't like to munch a good vibe?
And an owl logo is always good.
Yes,
we're always for that. By the way, Fight Club, that Adam Fisher's a little feisty, Bob. He's got a tough job this year getting things rolling, but he's a little feisty out there. He looks like he would scrap.
I loved his passion and all when we talked to him. Very, very into it. Looked up all his bio and all. He's good man for the job.
Got a long way to go, but it's good. It's good to see it going in the right direction. All right, I'm going to give you this. These guys, I heard Andrew Salchunas bring up this discussion yesterday. These guys cannot play this weekend. Absolutely cannot. Who are they? We'll tell you next. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. Hey, no one wants to deal with a bunch of BS, especially when you're dealing with your IT system, because your company's customers, they rely on being able to have that connectivity with you 24/7. Your business isn't 9 to 5. Graphin Business Systems is the trusted name in information systems technology, and boy, do they do a great job. They have such a absolutely fantastic business model. They've been doing it since before I was born, and they work with companies around the area. So if you're thinking about upping your cybersecurity game, and I hope you are, if you want to attain cloud status, if you want to invest in new equipment, or switch over to voice over IP phone services with video conferencing, Graphin can help. They've got all the answers you need. If your business's technology is potentially holding you back and you could be losing customers because of it, why wouldn't you deal with pros like Graphin who take the stress out of your life? It's worth picking up the phone and scheduling a consultation today with Graphin Business Systems. Their no-bull approach is going to change your life. It lets you do more of your business and less of your technology. To learn more about Graphin's no-bull approach, visit graphin.com. That's GRAFFEN.com.
Union and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Tomorrow's First Friday on the John Kincade Show. Hopefully you'll be there for it. We got Sixers, Knicks tickets, Flyers, Flames tickets, Flyers, Penguins tickets. Got a few spots left, I've just been told. A few spots remain. 975thefanatic.com. You want to come in tomorrow morning? I get this one here from Antonio. He's like, I'd love to come in. He goes, but first week of the year, it's tough. He said, my boss isn't going to feel too good about it. So I said, Antonio, just plan on next month. Maybe after the boss falls asleep a little bit.
Or just tell the boss you're going to adjust your hours a little bit because you have something important early in the morning.
Or bring the boss.
What
I suggested was bring the boss.
Yeah.
If you bring your boss, that's going to work out really, really well. And you're going to get free breakfast.
I bring my boss every time.
Yeah, he's just there to make sure you're not doing anything that HR is going to complain about. You didn't
sometimes that happens, and sometimes it does not.
Sometimes it's very good. Plus breakfast tomorrow, brought to you by Homegrown Coffee and Creations, South Philly's favorite coffee and breakfast spot, where every trip to the stadium should begin at 1515 West Porter Street. Speaking of HR, thank you to the gang at Market Street Grill who sent along a sweatshirt through Stacy from our HR. We see Stacy out at breakfast on the weekends in Westchester.
Nice.
And so they sent along a little sweatshirt.
Did she ever pick up the tab?
She's unbelievable.
No, you know what she does, Bob? She pays you every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
She makes she makes sure that next Friday.
Yeah, there will be no Stacy slant. But that's the thing. We don't need that kind of question of, did you ever pick up the tab? No. In fact, we should be picking up her tab.
I mean, exactly. Especially like after paydays, we should definitely do that.
You've created a little bit of an attitude over the last 15 minutes.
Has not been a good 15 minutes for me.
Well, Devontae Smith, take a seat. Mr. Cunningham, in the linebacker room, we are going to tell you to just take a seat also. The Philadelphia Eagles dug a hole. And they should be good enough to beat the New York Giants with nothing to play for in the last game of the season. And one of the things is, yesterday, Andrew Salchunas and Ray Dunn had a really, really interesting conversation. And it sort of went from a caller bringing up the fact that, do you want to sit players? And in the midst of the conversation, Andrew's like, I think I'm okay with this. I think I'm okay with sitting players. The only problem is that I'm listening, and the rationale that Andrew offered was incredibly sound, except on one thing. A head coach in this town would have every right to be fired if your scenario, Bob, happened. Just the mythical scenario that you and your buddy were talking about, where Dallas loses at Washington, which, by the way, has happened to them often, and Dallas is not good on the road. They are not a good road team.
No.
And they're a mediocre club on the road.
Washington has won 3 of the last 5 games against Dallas at home. And we know Washington hasn't been good for years.
Dallas has been better than Washington one of the, almost every one of those years.
Right. I couldn't disagree with Andrew more.
About resting players?
You have no right to think that you're good enough to rest players. If players can go, they got to go. This is my opinion.
Right, exactly.
Resting players for what? They're going to beat the Giants. If they should be able to beat the Giants without such and such and such and such. They can't. They couldn't beat anybody right now with or without such and such. They haven't proved that at all. You just got lambasted by a 3-11 or a 3 and whatever team, a 3-win team in the Arizona Cardinals comes in here in a game that you really needed, in a game that you wanted, in a game that could help you in your playoff standings. And now we're to a point of saying, yeah, but let's rest guys. For what? To get ready for a playoff?
Okay, now you all right? Are you all right with saying, Slay, you'll come back in the playoffs?
If he's 100%, you're playing.
So you say play him.
Damn straight. If guys are 100% to play on Sunday, I'm having them out there because guess what? It's not a penalty, and it's not, in my mind, stupid because you're not good enough to just say, yeah, let's rest players. You have to find something. That defense was horrible last week. If that means getting them in a better place by playing Darius Slay out there, so be it. Do it.
Are you going to get on a roll, though, with anything we learn about playing the lousy Giants?
No, you're not. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. It's about you. It's about you.
It's about your battling yourself.
You just played a lousy opponent.
Right.
You just did, and you look like
dog
crap.
poopy.
Yeah, I just no. That stuff yesterday. Obviously, love Andrew. All that. I couldn't have disagreed more. You are in absolutely no place to take anything for granted. None whatsoever. There's no team in this NFL right now. I don't care who it is, and it can be any quarterback starting right now. You could bring in the Los Angeles Rams with no starters and Carson Wentz. I wouldn't feel comfortable if I was the Philadelphia Eagles. No, not resting. There's too many implications. Now, as I said earlier, that's how I'm going into a game. That's how Bob Cooney would go into a game if he was the head coach. Now, if I have somebody come down from the analytics group in the middle of the third quarter and says to me, nothing can change whether you win or lose. It's already set. You're definitely this seed. Then I rethink things. Then I probably pull guys out. But no, I am going into this game like I have to win.
The Rams, looking at the landscape, I think the Rams could go and beat the Lions. I think that the Rams in a playoff situation could win a game at Detroit. I think the Rams could potentially come in here and beat this team the way this team's playing right now.
Anybody can come in here and beat this team. It just showed it last week. Anybody can come in here and beat this team right now.
It's literally the opposite of last year. Last year it was anyone can get it.
That was your whole mantra.
And this year is anyone can give it.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute.
It sucks.
Well, they did.
We're not having fun.
They did only lose 2 games at home. And it's San Francisco and Arizona. I mean, this has been a pretty good team at home. They've beaten some really good teams at home also. They beat Dallas. They beat Miami. They beat Buffalo.
I haven't seen them be good at home since the Buffalo game.
Since Thanksgiving
and even that
weekend.
was questionable.
Yeah, in a downpour on Thanksgiving weekend was the last time you saw them, going out there. It just doesn't look – it looks like something – and I go back to it. The idea is I really do believe, and it seems like hyperbole, but I do believe that the San Francisco 49ers broke them. I think it's a crisis of confidence.
I'll put it this way. I think the Buffalo Bills, all right, in the old days, boxing used to be 15 rounds. Now, what's it, 12? Whatever. I'll say the Buffalo Bills beat the crap out of the Eagles for 14 rounds, and San Francisco came in and knocked them out in the 15th.
Yeah, and they
you know
definitely.
What I mean?
Well, they also had 3 extra days rest, which is the thing that helped.
I think Buffalo totally put this team on wobbly legs, and San Francisco knocked it out.
Also, too, about this team, and I brought it up the day after it happened on the air, so I'm not doing 20/20 hindsight. The way the Eagles reacted to James Bradbury being bumped and them walking right through the Eagles line of players as they walked off before in pregame, to me, it made my tentacles go up going, okay, something's not right with this team. And you were like, well, what do you want them to do, get in a fight? I almost now say, I wish somebody had pushed somebody. I wish somebody had stood up for James Bradbury. Hey, I wish James Bradbury had stood up for himself in that situation, because that video was damning to me, because that is something that would be, and I would dare to say, in Eagles history, I can't think of an Eagles team where that would ever have happened.
What team was it? San Francisco?
They walked right through the player line. They bumped 2 players, bumped into James Bradbury, one of them putting a shoulder into him as they walked past him. And to me, that was a statement where you didn't answer it. You let the bully in the locker room just knock you down or whatever, and you didn't even answer it. And I think it tells me something about them. And look,
yeah. I mean, even you're admitting you're reading a lot into it. There's different players that take things different ways. Some will go right back at you and want to start a fight. Others, I didn't see Bradbury's face when it happened. Might have been laughing like, yeah, okay, cool. We're 10. We'll see what happens in the game. Now, it turns out they got their asses kicked. But, I don't.
It was after all the talk, too.
Yeah.
All the talk leading up to that game, which honestly I thought was an off season of being tired.
Yeah.
I was tired of it all.
Yeah, it was the bully coming in and stuffing your nose in it after he talked all week long.
And they did.
And you basically saying, all right, we'll see what happens during the game. But then it didn't happen during the game.
Yeah, I mean, if they win the game, it's a completely different
smart.
It's a completely different narrative. Yeah, he's smart, and it was cute, and you tried to intimidate us, and it didn't work. And no, it turns out like San Francisco is that team. I mean, they'll beat you up, and they'll rub your face in it, and there's nothing you can do about it.
They got punked, though, on Christmas night. The same way at home by the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens out-physicaled them, pushed them around, and made their quarterback look like a fool on that night.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton, by the way, with 2 interceptions that night. And I'm just going, because now everybody's looking at the Jordan Davis thing, going where Jordan Davis appears to have had a little bit of a physical running out of gas. And that's the kind of guy with Hamilton now playing at that kind of level. You're like, that could have been that. But that's something that the Eagles do not do. So, if you're looking ahead in the 9 o'clock hour, by the way, brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. And for details, go to Bagster.com. If you're looking ahead, which you should be able to do now, it's not too far to look ahead and say your wild card matchup. It's going to be, if you're the 5th seed, which I think we all expect the 5th seed's going to be where they land, that this is going to be that we're not going to get some help from I don't believe we're getting help from Washington.
Gonna have some weather going on down there. Dallas isn't a good road team.
Yeah,
it's not out of question.
It could get sloppy.
Yeah.
So, but if you don't get that and you're the 5 seed, to me, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta. Which you have a choice? You have a choice. Is there one that appeals to you? You guys saw Tampa Bay, and you saw the atmosphere, by the way, right in front of you earlier this year. You saw it firsthand. So, I mean, is that one where the fans will take over? Eagles fans will take over that stadium. But I wonder, because the Eagles crowd on Sunday was rather timid, I thought. And I didn't think it was a normal Eagles crowd.
Well, when the other team has the ball.
They sucked the life out of the room. Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. I'll go back to something that Pat said earlier. It's just like last year. Last year, when you're looking at what opponents are coming into the link for the Eagles to play, most of us were like, it doesn't matter. Who cares? That's where I am right now. I don't really care about Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and who's the other one?
It's New Orleans.
New Orleans.
I mean,
because the way this Eagles team is playing right now, it doesn't matter. I'm not looking into what kind of an atmosphere do they have to go to, who's doing this, who's doing that. Until this Eagles team shows me that something is righted, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, doesn't much matter. And that's an apathetic way of looking at it, and I'm sure it'll change after this weekend, or maybe it'll get worse after this weekend. I always love a playoff run, so we'll get extra hyped for that. But, man, it's just I am there. It doesn't matter who the opponent is right now because this team is playing so poorly. It just, to me, doesn't matter.
If New Orleans so the deal is this. If Tampa Bay beats Carolina, then Carolina, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win the division, and they will be the Eagles' opponent. They will host the Eagles. If Tampa loses to Carolina, and Carolina's been playing better. They've been playing much tighter games. If Carolina wins that game, then the winner of the Atlanta-New Orleans game will end up being the team that hosts the Eagles. I want no parts of New Orleans, Pat. I want no parts.
John, right now, I don't want parts of Western Tennessee. Like, I don't want any of them. The University of Hawaii coming in here. I don't want any part of the Warriors. Like, no. That's how the lack of confidence I have in this team right now. I don't think that this defense could stop a nosebleed because they're either just poorly coached or they've completely run out of gas because they've played so much football this season. This is the first time I've gone man, defense is really gassed since Chip Kelly. And Chip Kelly, it was a different situation because the offense was pretty potent. So they would run so many plays that it would put the defense out there that by the end of the season, the defense had no energy. And it's much of the same this year, but it's a different situation because the defense is gassed. They've played so many plays because they've just been bad.
Yeah.
They've been put in bad situations.
You have to look no further than Tampa Bay. They're going to crunch Carolina. Carolina sucks. C.J. Beathard was their starting quarterback last week. They got shut out 26-0. They're not going to put up any opposition to Tampa Bay. So it's going to be Tampa Bay. If everything else plays out and the Eagles are the 5th seed. But if Dallas loses and the Eagles win.
What if you go and win that game against the Giants and you get the gift of all gift with the Cowboys gagging? I mean, are you kidding me? I wonder how quickly would the town's energy distinctly change? Because you're saying right now, would it matter? Would it matter? Would it matter if you were the 2 seed?
How about if the Lions lost too? Yeah.
Would it matter to you if they were the 2 seed?
Sure, everything matters.
No, but I mean, would it matter to you, though, as far as saying to yourself, I think they can really win now? Because if people are saying they don't think this team's got it that they're going to be a winner in the playoffs. Is it going to change if you're the 2 seed? Does home field advantage really matter? You got punked twice at home.
You'd feel better.
Yeah, I mean, you almost lost to the Giants, and you got punked in the 2 other games by San Francisco and Arizona down the stretch. Home field advantage didn't mean jack to this team. It didn't mean anything to this team. They didn't benefit from being at home.
Well, I mean, as you stated earlier, they only have 2 losses at home, so
Right.
a 6-2 record at home isn't bad.
But the last 3 games, that Giant game on Christmas, which you won,
yeah.
and then you've got the San Francisco game and the Arizona game.
And you go before that, the Buffalo game where the defense was on the field for 92 plays.
Right, I mean,
yeah,
home field hasn't been...
It'll make you feel better because you're good at this. If they do get the 2 seed, who would they probably host?
You're going to most likely host the Packers.
Yeah.
Jordan Love and the Packers, who, by the way, would still scare the hell out of me. It would still any team right now. Any team right now is going to scare you.
Yeah, that's
a little bit.
Right now on a what the day is today? Thursday. On a Thursday before the last game of the season, when this team is playing so horribly, all I can say is looking at opponents. Really, when you have this bad team right now that is before us, do I even need to worry about opponents? I'm always of the let's fix us before we worry about anybody else. And I don't mean us as in the Eagles. I mean if I'm involved with any team, I don't care about opponents until I fix us. Well, the Eagles are the us for them. They have to fix themselves.
Well, what I would suggest too is that if this team, and I truly believe this, if this team goes and wins against the Giants, and then they win the wild card game at Tampa, there will be a large portion of the fan base that will convince itself that they can go to San Francisco or Dallas and win. I really believe that. I believe the whole momentum will change, even though it won't seem like it's maybe as legit as you would think. I think this city's whole energy on the Eagles will change if they go and beat the Giants, then win the wild card game.
Good.
Because, again, it's a playoff run, and that's what we want.
Absolutely.
But I don't know whether it changes anything with the team's legitimate chances to win. I just don't. I want to believe, but I'm going to need to see something, and I don't know that I'm going to learn anything this week. I don't know that they're going to be able to give me something that's going to make me walk away going, no?
They're not. They're because they're playing the Giants. So if they win big, you go, yeah, you should win big. You're playing a team that has nothing to play for. And if they don't win big, well, why didn't you win big? Like, they're in a lose-lose situation for me, at least as a fan. Like, there's not a lot they can show me.
I thought it was good news yesterday that did you see the Saquon stuff?
No.
That Saquon, I think, thinks he's not getting a new contract. So he's like, I wanted to be a Giant for life, and it doesn't look like it's happening. You know, I want to be a Giant for life. So it seems like there may be a little dissension there. So we'll monitor the situation.
I saw somebody say that if the Giants win, they would drop from like the 5th pick to the 10th pick.
Correct.
We saw how the Eagles diced them out of a pick a couple of years ago when they got Devontae Smith.
By trading ahead of them.
You would think that they're not playing. Now, somebody brought up a great point, and Andrew and Ray brought it up yesterday, too. That field up there is crap.
Oh, it is.
And, yeah, do you get a little bit nervous about guys maybe doing something up there? I hear you, and some of me agrees with that, but I just can't go into this game thinking anything more than
I can't either.
You can't rest anybody when you're this bad.
Right now is that the only thing I would say, and I thought it was a good point by when Andrew and Ray were talking about it yesterday, is I don't want Devontae Smith out there in that field, even though Devontae seems like a beast. Seems like a real beast.
Yeah,
he's able, because those injuries, as you well know, Bob, I mean, from basketball and everything, it's not something that you quickly come back from many times.
There's nothing I hate worse in sports than spraining an ankle. I swear to God, I can't stand it. I broke both of my ankles. I sprained them many, many times. Like, it just sucks because, an arm, a finger, a hand, different things like that. Okay, you can kind of adjust or whatever. You can't. Like, it's so debilitating when you're not 100%. I often have dreams, John. Like, I always had dreams of playing Division I basketball. Not that anybody cares about me. But I often have dreams of playing a real game, basketball game, in my socks.
In your socks.
And being like, oh, my God, I can't catch the guy. I can't do this thing because I'm sliding all over the place. Well, having a sprained ankle or something like that when you're a Devontae Smith, a Slay, anybody, that's how debilitating it is. You just can't do what you want to do. and that sucks.
Hey, Carlos can do what he wants to do. Carlos, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Yes. Good morning. I heard you guys earlier, and you were going back and forth with each other about whether or not if Andy Reid was the coach and he told Mahomes this is the play, would Mahomes audible and
on a play when they needed 10 yards? Yes.
Correct. And then you guys were, saying, hey, this and that. And I get where you're coming from, but I think what you guys missed is, number one, A.J. Brown gave a press conference, and you don't know how much of what he said is true or how much of what he said is him covering up for Nick Sirianni because they have a personal relationship and he likes Nick Sirianni.
So you think
we said that early in the show, Carlos, too. Yeah,
we did say that.
I missed that.
That's fine.
I missed that. But in addition to that, we also have to take into consideration that at a certain point, Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts and these players have gotten to a point where they believe that they're a Super Bowl worthy team, so they have trust in each other. If a player audibled and at the press conference decided not to take responsibility for it, maybe that's just, hey, listen, we're keeping this within the team. It's really nobody's business. And then the next day, the press is all over it. And then Nick Sirianni comes out and says, hey, you know what? That was my call. We were trying to get a penalty there. Maybe it wasn't the smartest thing, blah, blah, blah. It could be him exactly like he said, taking the fire for his players.
Carlos, I don't believe. First of all, I do believe what A.J. Brown said. I believe that him and Jalen ad-libbed. But also, too, I think that is absolutely, to me, it is leadership for him to step up and say, I was responsible for that. We thought we saw something.
I agree with you. Here's where you might be missing out on something. You're a very, very intelligent guy. You didn't get to where you are without being a very intelligent guy.
Yeah, don't overstate
Jalen Hurts is a phenomenal. Well, you are. Jalen Hurts is a phenomenal athlete and a very, very, very good quarterback. Jalen Hurts isn't a professional speaker. He's not a professional interviewer. He obviously has been prepped and he has ideas of what he does and what he says. But in the spur of the moment, he was probably pissed off they fucking lost. He was pissed off they lost. And he didn't, he didn't say, hey.
I get you. Here's the only thing is this. I guarantee you this. Jalen Hurts is not in the exact same game situation. Jalen Hurts is not doing that playing for Nick Saban. Jalen Hurts is not saying, I know what they want me to run, but I'm going to run my own thing. And I guarantee you that he wasn't doing that at Oklahoma either. And with the game on the line, I know what we need to get here, but I'm gonna just ignore. I'm ignoring Nick Saban. I know better. I'm gonna go do this.
You're saying ignore and didn't like the play. That's to me, that's not it. You can have a difference of opinions on what looks good. Like Nick Saban, Nick Sirianni, they're standing to a sideline. I'm overlooking a defense right here, right in front of me, with my other 10 guys. If I feel like, and I'm giving autonomy to do such, like. Jalen Hurts was one of the best playmakers, was probably the best playmaker in college football his senior year.
It was fantastic.
To say that a coach tried to limit him and say, nope, you run what I tell you to run, you don't run anything else, I don't know.
No, in that situation, I'm not talking about a first quarter play, a second quarter play.
Yeah,
in the game on the line, I guarantee 100%. He's not saying, I'm going against what Nick Saban told me to do. I'm going to ad lib. I think I see something. I'm going for it. I would
see something different.
I would tell you that I don't believe for a second that he'd overrule Saban on that one.
What?
Like I think there is a difference between, and I think that's the difference between Nick Sirianni and a guy like Saban. Is that Nick Sirianni?
Well, it's also a college player as opposed to a professional.
Oh no, that's fair. Sure, absolutely. Is that plays it? And plus two, I guess it's some of the experience that he's gained at the professional level, that he feels confident enough to do that. Yeah. Maybe he wouldn't do it
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Maybe he wouldn't do it in his first year, but he'd do it in his third year, fourth year.
Yeah, pro sports is different. I mean, it's like I said before, it's a collaboration. A professional athlete with a professional head coach, an athlete that's one of the best in the world at what he does. It's not you do this because I tell you to, as much as people think it is. I really don't think it is. And I do have a lot of proof that it isn't.
Hey, if you want to get in with us, 610-632-0975. What do you think of improving like that? Plus, Pat is going to roll the dice, and I don't know if Nick Nurse is going to like it. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, you got to imagine if your favorite casino came with an undo button, because you can get that with FanDuel Casinos. Play it again. Get up to 1,000.
7-5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning if you're coming out to our first Friday show. If not, be listening. If you want to try to get in to grab one of the last spots, you can at 975thefanatic.com. Breakfast will be provided for you by Homegrown Coffee and Creations at 1515 West Porter Street. Looking forward to that.
Can't wait.
Got tickets to give away, Sixers Knicks tickets, Flyers Flames tickets, Flyers Penguins tickets. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Tons of tickets to get away. It's a fun time. We love doing it. We love hanging out with everybody that comes in and then, have our guests come in. And it is a really fun day. It's a great way to kick off a Friday. If you got to go to work a little bit later and stop by,
go for it.
Do it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Todd Fedoruk will join us. Tom McGinnis will stop on by. Andrew DiCecco from Inside the Birds hanging out with us, too, which will be a lot of fun, and we hope that you will be here for it tomorrow. Pat, we talk about a Sixers team right now.
Yeah.
That is doing they're 3 games ahead of last year's pace. They are a very entertaining product under Nick Nurse, but they managed to recover in the James Harden deal some, equity to be able to use to flip to be able to improve the roster down the line. Now, when I hear about you rolling the dice, it concerns me a little bit because is that something you want, or is it something you were sort of dreaming about that you think would be the better option than maybe adding pieces?
Look, I'm somebody that still thinks the window's closed. I know that that's blasphemy for a lot of people because they have Joel Embiid right now playing, reminding everybody why he was the MVP last year. Everyone forgot. No, he's still really good at basketball. He's arguably the best in the world. And I think a lot of people would go, if you have that guy, you have a chance. Yeah, okay, they have a chance.
And that's fair.
They have a chance. I don't think it's going to amount to a championship. So I'm biased because of the fact that I think the window's closed. But yeah, they got some draft equity back in the James Harden trade. They also got some expiring contracts. They have some flexibility they can do stuff with. But I found something interesting. So when they traded for James Harden, right? The movie Hustle was coming out after I think the next year, and I got lucky to interview Kenny Smith, who was in the movie for a split second.
We aired it. It was very good too.
Yeah,
it was a mediocre interview, but Kenny was great. The interview
was great.
The interview, the interview was meh. But he said something interesting about Harden when he came to Philly. He's like, I didn't expect them to do much in the playoffs because it's so hard to just plug and play in the NBA and to just integrate a new player like James Harden in your offense. I'm not surprised that they got bounced in the second round. And it since that interview, it's kind of given me pause for adding at the deadline a big name guy and the impact that it has. On the surface, you go, oh my God, they added James Harden. Oh, well, yeah, okay, championship, right? But it might be more complicated than that. And it might be more complicated in a system like Nick Nurse's. So do you end up taking some of that equity, some of those expiring contracts, and do you spin it for a starter, right? And not necessarily, I don't want to use the star word, but
do you have any name that you're thinking of? Okay.
Or do you just keep it as is? Because the team as is playing really well, right? And they do probably have the MVP right now in the league in Joel Embiid. And they're very deep. And by the time the playoffs do roll around, you're going to have a good idea of who's playing and who's not because Nick Nurse has done a really good job of playing everybody. So do you just kind of stick with the team as is, or are you steadfast and add? This team needs more. They could get more. Like a Zach LaVine, whose name keeps being bandied about by Sixers fans. Do you need that guy? And is adding that guy enough to finally get you over the hump?
I got to tell you that the one thing, Bob, that I would, use to Pat's question is that reading some of the Chicago press, it seems like there aren't going to be a lot of tears shed if Zach LaVine exits town.
Yeah, well,
whether as a teammate or is it like he's not, for whatever reason, maybe he's disgruntled there or something. I don't know.
Well, trade rumors don't get started with a guy like that unless there's something on his end also. So. I don't know the ins and outs of it. He's still injured, and he's not close to coming back from injury from what Billy Donovan was saying before the game the other night. So that's one thing you have to go to. It's an interesting question, Pat, and I almost contradict myself when I answer it because I've often said and always will say, if I was a coach and somebody said, I'm going to bring you in more talent, Am I going to say no to that? Never. I should have trust enough in myself. Forget fit, forget who I already have there, all of that stuff. If you're giving me more talent, I should be able to make it work. However, your biggest talent in the league right now seems to be playing his best basketball. Does it have a lot to do or some to do with the people that are surrounding him? It just might. So how do I not break that up and ruin something that you might already have that you think is special? I'll say this. I think the Sixers do need to add and will add to this team. I don't think they'll break the core of it in doing so. So I think they'll bring in maybe another bench scorer. Now, they're moving DeAnthony Melton to the bench. That's going to be interesting. Does he come off the bench and be that scorer that you're going to need? If not, that's probably where you're looking.
Is this the best that Joel Embiid, Pat, in your opinion, has looked as a Sixer?
Oh, yeah. I mean, last year he was really good.
I think he looks better this year.
I think he might.
I don't think it's even close.
I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Not to interrupt you.
All right. No, I mean, I was on the fence with it. Yeah, I think he has. But it's amazing because this is what, the 5th, 6th, 7th year. Like every year, this guy reaches a new level.
Like he adds something to his.
And you just go like, all right, he's unbelievable. He's a unicorn. That's it. And if that's it, then that's fine. And then the next year he comes out and he's better.
I'm seeing the consistency, Bob, though, that I don't believe we've ever seen out of Joel Embiid. The consistency of just excellence. And honestly, he's on a roll right now that is of historic proportions in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I think 5 other guys have scored 30 or more points in 15 straight games.
In the history of the game.
In the history of the game. And the names you look at are, Wilt Chamberlain and people like that. It's amazing. I don't even think it's close. And I was talking to somebody when I was down there the other night, and they agreed. I don't think it's close how much better he is this year than last year. And last year he was named best player in the whole league.
How much do you put to what you're seeing out of Nick Nurse? Is it Nick Nurse? Is it the way that the cast that they've put around him?
There's a comfort. And talking to people down there, the players are so at ease playing with him. Talking to somebody who talked to a player, and they said, and this was a couple weeks ago, the player said, it is unbelievable. And this player's been around the league. And has played with stars. He said it's unbelievable how easy it is to play with Joel Embiid because of the constant attention defenses give him. A, how he's still able to beat them, and B, how easy it is for the rest of us to score. The Sixers are the best defensive team point-wise in the NBA.
See, that's crazy.
And we talk all about their offense most of the time, which is real. I think it's top 5 in points scored. He is just at a level that I've never. Now things come to me differently. I watch his foot movement this year. It's not flat-footed. He is on his toes and ready to get the ball and distribute, score, whatever he has to do offensively in a way that I've never seen before. I don't know, Pat. I don't know if you need a star to add or if they feel that it's just a piece or pieces to add. I don't know.
The fact that this dude had, a 31, 15, and 10 triple-double in 31 minutes.
And that's part of it, too, right?
I don't know if you saw the clip from the Patrick Beverley podcast, but Pat Bev was talking about Joel Embiid and how good he is. And, he was, effusive in his praise, saying he might go down as one of the best of all time. And it was just on talent level, not necessarily numbers-wise, but just like how dominant this guy is. But he said something very interesting, and it was, during the game, NBA players love talking. Like, they love trash talking. He's like, no one talks to this guy. No one says a word because they all know what's up.
They're going to get it?
Like, they know, they don't poke the bear. It's like the Kobe thing. Like, you don't talk to Kobe because you don't want to poke the bear. And you can't say anything to Joel Embiid because he's that good. He's that dominant. He's that much of a unicorn. And I found it really interesting that nobody trash talks him. It's everybody else seems to get trash talked about something. And Joel Embiid, Pat Beverley's like, yeah, they don't say a word to him. Pick another target.
When Andre Drummond was just shaking his head, running up the floor the other night after Embiid hit him with a move, I think it was a turnaround jumper, fake one way, shoot another, and Embiid shaking his head like nobody can guard me, and Drummond's behind him, giggling and kind of saying, "My God, you're right."
And they used to hate each other until Drummond came here, obviously,
until they were teammates.
Like a lot of people with Joel Embiid, you hate him until you're a teammate, and now it's that respect factor. where it's like, what do you want me to do? Like, there's nothing I can do against this guy.
I'm flailing.
You kind of just have to shake your head, you know? I mean, at some point, and we've all dealt with it in sports, at some point you get cooked so badly that you just tip your cap to the guy. And Joel Embiid is that good where he does it on a nightly basis.
I had a guy in the NBA, I told you guys this a couple weeks ago, that texted me and said, God, this game is just too easy for him. And then the other night, Embiid made a shimmy move. I talked about it yesterday. Faked over his right shoulder, went to his left shoulder, hit a perfect, beautiful jump shot. And all I got was a text from this guy in capital letters. Too easy. And this is a guy that's been in the league for 40 years.
I mean, that's getting better, and it's getting better for him as his career goes on.
Where is he going to rank when it's for you when it's all said and done?
Is there going to be like? Is he going to play in a conference title or a championship?
No, but not all the time. But just like Sixers greats.
He's going to be there.
He's going to be right in the mix.
You're talking like AI, Dr. J, Hal Greer. Like, I mean, you're talking Hall of Fame Dolph Shays and Mo Cheeks, and this guy might be. I mean, talent-wise, I think he is the best of all.
I think he's talent-wise. If this trajectory is what he's on, he'll be the best of all
and that's
time.
Something that
if you're saying talent-wise.
Yeah, Jamie was saying that for years with us. Like, I'm sorry, like I know everyone likes AI, but this guy's the best.
But you need AI.
You need some accolades.
AI literally put a team on his back, and I think that's part of the lore of why he's considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest. Is he put a team on his back and got them to the NBA Finals? It's a different NBA today. But the Sixers are only a half game out of the second seed. And I think by May, Pat, Nick Nurse is going to have you drinking a big glass of the Kool-Aid.
I very well might.
I think he will.
I think he
will.
Said to start it off, like I think the window's closed, and I think they're a very, very good basketball team. But I equated it to years ago to like the Oklahoma City Thunder when they had KD and Westbrook. Like they're a very good basketball team. They weren't winning it all because there was a better team. I think there is a better team right now, but.
Is that Boston?
Yeah.
Milwaukee, right?
I think Boston's better. I think Milwaukee I think they will end up being better. But what's going to be interesting is if you can finally manage to get Joel Embiid healthy to the second round. Like, I'm at the point where wrap that dude in bubble wrap in the first round just to get him healthy to the second round. Because I do, like, at that point, John, if they get to the second round and he is fully healthy, then I'll probably start, downing Kool-Aid like it's going out of business.
Yeah, I think you'd be in on it then. And I understand it. I understand where your PTSD comes from because I have it.
Oh, yeah, they broke me last year.
I have it.
They completely broke me last year.
I absolutely have it.
Yeah, I was talking to one of our salespeople yesterday about how do you view a season. And I know I'm different than everybody else. And so, like when I hear people say, yeah, I don't care about the regular season. I only, we'll see what happens in the playoffs. All I feel is like, my God, you're missing something great. Like something. No matter the team you're watching or follow or like, something really good's going to happen over an 82-game stretch. And for you and for anyone to just say, yeah, I'll check in on the playoffs because that's all that matters. Man, you missed something to me.
Did you hear Ray and Andrew yesterday discussing about what I had brought up yesterday, the Phillies highlight video? And Andrew's like, I do not want to watch it. He said, and he loves Andrew never misses Phillies games. He is totally devoted to it. And Ray's like, I can't wait to sit down and watch it. And I'm like, I don't get, like, I can't imagine the Eagles putting out a video in 2002 when they lost the NFC Championship game to the Buccaneers and being like, what a love affair this city has with this team. And it would just be, it's almost tone deaf a bit. And I think that's one of the things that Andrew's like, I'm the biggest Phillies fan there is. I don't want to watch it. And it's like the Sixers, it's going to have to, Joel Embiid's legacy here is going to have to include some playoff moments. There have been 0 playoff moments for Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
That has to change. If you want to be considered one of the all-time franchise greats, you have to lead them to something.
Yeah. Good question here on that, John, from Jay Greco says, honest question. He's obviously amazing right now, but will any of this matter if he doesn't win a single title? Yeah, it matters.
Title? It doesn't matter to AI. He didn't win a title.
Right. It matters what he's doing because a lot of it is historical.
Right.
A lot of it lends you to say, look, when Charles Barkley came here and you saw a 6'4" guy, although he's listed at 6'6", grab rebounds, dribble the length of the floor, go behind his back, and go up and power dunk over 7-footers, that was something you never saw before. Joel Embiid does that. Oh, yeah, he also rebounds about as well. He's also as good a passer. He's also a better shooter.
Yes.
He's also a better shot blocker. The amazing talents of people that you named from the Sixers past, it's hard to find that Embiid doesn't have even something a little bit more than that.
And I think Pat's, it's a great question though, Pat. As far as I don't think Nick Nurse needs the star. And I mean, I'll just
he's got it.
No, I don't think he needs another one. I'm talking about an additional.
When he won the championship, he had Kawhi.
Right.
And he had a really good team around him. And you had Fred VanVleet, but Fred VanVleet wasn't Fred VanVleet at the time.
No.
Right? I mean, they had
Pascal
Valanciunas.
Siakam, right?
No,
Is he there yet?
They would have had Marcus Gasol at that point because I think they traded Valanciunas for Marcus Gasol. They had Pascal Siakam, but he was a young Pascal Siakam.
Yes, he was.
Like, they didn't have this roster, loaded team when
this
they
roster
won.
might be better.
It might be.
Than that one that he won with in Toronto. I think if you take it.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but
I mean, a young Siakam, a young Fred Van. Like, I'd take Maxey right now over the Fred VanVleet.
I would absolutely.
Was VanVleet a bench player at that point? Because
was
Kyle
he a
Lowry.
rookie?
He might have been a rookie or a second
because
year.
They had Kyle Lowry at that point.
No, but I mean, it is interesting though. It's a great question you bring up though, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have different opinions on it as far as what they need to do. I'm tired of them star chasing. I want them to build a team, and I want them to build a team that has some potential for sustainability and success. And that's one of the things I'm hoping for. We have look, it's leading up to the Giants on Sunday. And I greatly admire again, and where we started the show today, I greatly admire when I hear A.J. Brown talk, I wish he talked more because he is interesting. But I really do believe that what I heard him say yesterday doesn't give me more confidence in this coaching staff. Doesn't give me more confidence that this team is going to finally learn how to wrap up on tackling. And by the way, if you didn't see, they had one of the worst tackling performances of the season versus the Arizona Cardinals this past weekend, statistically. So to me, yeah, yesterday there were people literally jumping up and down going, yeah, this is the big, as you say, Bob, the turning point. I'm like, are you kidding me? I didn't hear anything that actually gave me more faith in this team. I do have a little more respect for A.J. Brown, and I had respect for him yesterday, but I have a little more respect for him there.
Yeah, it was cute. It was cool. It was, I don't know, fill in adjective here, but foundational. What was the term I used earlier that somebody put out there that covers the team? It's a turning point,
like a transformation point. I don't get it.
Okay, if his words can make the defense play that much better on third down, wow. I don't know sports a little bit.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand what people were thinking with that.
It was something that you knew he was going to talk. It came out the way it came out, and the way it came out was, oh, okay, cool. It wasn't oh my God, more dirt on a team that's being lowered into the ground already. No, it wasn't that. It was a little bit of a lightning kind of thing that everybody's cool with, and all right, move on. Does it make the team better? I don't know, and if it does, I don't think enough to. No.
Why it didn't move the needle for me is because of the fact that I would have hoped to have heard A.J. Brown tell me some reason to believe in this coaching staff. Believe in their expertise. Believe in their ability to turn it around. Believe in their ability to teach it. I didn't get anything that gives me more confidence in Nick Sirianni, Brian Johnson, or anything on the Matt Patricia, the defensive side of the ball.
But yeah, words aren't going to tell me that anyway. Like if A.J. Brown came out and said, look, Brian Johnson has a really good game plan, and Nick Sirianni, what he gives to Brian Johnson is phenomenal, I'm just going to sit there and say, yeah, okay, show it. I mean, really? I haven't seen it a lot lately. I'm more disappointed in the defense right now, but no words are going to change to me the way this team is playing right now. They're just not.
And Pat, you weren't that moved either. There were a lot of people yesterday very, very excited about that.
Well,
press
and I think they're looking for hope in anything. And when you have A.J. Brown announce, all right, I'm going to speak to the media, you're a little worried because if he comes out and rips the coaching staff, that's the death nail in the season. You know,
question.
there's a glimmer of hope that they could figure it out and they could go on a run and you know, they could get back to what we thought that they were going to do this season. There's a glimmer of hope, but that glimmer of hope goes away if A.J. Brown has a press conference and goes, yeah, this coaching staff doesn't know what the hell they're doing. And you might be able to you have to read between the lines to get that message, but if it's clear that Nick Sirianni and staff have completely lost the locker room, then we're talking about something completely different today.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, let's look at mock drafts.
Yeah. No. Let's skip mock draft season right now, and at least let's hope we can put that off as long as possible. Kick that can down the road. I'm trying to figure out where this franchise is going, and I think that I really do think the next 2 games determine a lot. And Pat brought up the question earlier. If they were to crap out and not win the rest of the way, how much does that change their plan? Because, look, the Saturday before Doug Peterson was fired, Adam Schefter tweeted out that he did not expect Doug Peterson to be fired. So, and I'm not throwing dirt on Adam Schefter. At the time, he didn't think that was going to happen. That scares me a little bit because this is a franchise that doesn't wait around, Bobby. They do not put off what could be done tomorrow. They'll do it today if they feel that things are bad. I wonder how bad they feel things are.
Well, they're not being honest with themselves if they don't feel things are bad right now.
I would
right?
agree with you on that one.
You made the move at 10-1 to change the defensive coordinator. Was it? Were they 10-1 at the time or 10-3?
10 and it was after Seattle.
What was the game that
it was after Seattle.
Okay.
No, it was no. Seattle was the first game for Matt Patricia.
All right.
So Seattle's was the first game for Matt Patricia.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, they did that with a really good record, got rid of the defensive coordinator. If things don't fall out the way they thought they were going to.
You were about
I was going to say should.
And now we can't say should.
No.
As you brought up earlier in the show, you can't say should.
Yeah, I don't think that this ownership group is going to pull the plug on a Nick Sirianni, even if they lose these next couple of games.
Because of optics? Like because of what it would look like around the league if
I don't think
they
they care about optics. I mean, when they fired Doug Peterson,
that was bad optics.
That was
right?
bad optics, right? Like you're firing a head coach who was dealing with an injured roster, and he had won you your first Super Bowl, and
right?
You were like, look, we got to. Now I think we all agree that was a mutual agreement of parting ways. It was like, look, I need some hand here in the roster construction and the coaching staff. And Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie said, no, you don't get that. And he said, all right, well then. I'll leave.
Something weird happened there.
There is one thing I would say about that, though, is that I do think in all these discussions, and maybe it's partially our fault too, I think Howie's getting a little bit of a pass. That I'm not sure that at the end of the year, roster construction wasn't a bigger issue even than coaching.
Yeah, we talked about this on Tuesday?
Yes.
I'm a firm believer that he might be getting a little bit of a pass, and a big part of it is the people like myself, hand up, that want to fire, that don't want to flip-flop yet again.
Go on the road again.
Yeah, like I wanted the guy fired, and then I've come around and go, no, like he actually redeemed himself, right? 2018 draft on, it's been good. And you don't want to go back because at that point it's like, dude, you don't have any foundation to stand on when it comes to Howie Roseman. 1 minute you want him fired, the next minute you don't. So I think because of that, it's been let's blame the coordinators and let's blame the head coach and maybe the players, but we knew what the roster problems were coming in, right? We knew that they were thin at linebacker, thin at defensive line.
But that was
secondary.
Wasn't that a self-inflicted wound?
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, that was Howie's decision to be thin at linebacker.
Yeah, during a season, my ire or praise always goes to the players and the coaches. Off season, to me, just to me, is for GMs and ownership. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree with you, yes.
I can't bitch about what he put together now because there's nothing that can be done now. But once this season is over and we evaluate, I think owner and GM are the first people you look at.
No, my big gripe with Howie with the roster construction is, like, you take a TJ Edwards. So Howie loves locking guys in early. He did it with Josh Sweat. He did Jordan Mailata. Like, I'm going to lock them in early. I'm going to get them at a cheaper rate. And when they develop into a true big talent, I'm having them at a discount. But he doesn't do it ever at linebacker. And if they do have a serviceable linebacker. Or
safety, really.
Yeah, they just, all right, thanks for your time. Wish you well. And why they didn't lock in TJ Edwards to a long-term deal to keep him here.
Because it could have been much cheaper.
Look, maybe there's a chance they tried to, and TJ wanted to test the open market. But I would think in football, a sport where, I mean, like, it's the definition of, like, I need my money now, right? One play, my career is over. I mean, that is the sport of any sport where guys want to cash in early. I would think that he would and his agent would be pretty open to a contract extension, and I just don't think the Eagles offered him one. And I think that in and of itself is very short-sighted, but it's an, quote, organizational philosophy, and it's a philosophy that needs change.
You know, it's funny. What we talked about defensively before the season began was their decision to just anoint Nakobe Dean. Here you are. Here's the starting linebacking spot, which we talked about endlessly, about the safety spot where really you're okay with just throwing in a Reed Blankenship. We questioned it, but we didn't question it maybe as much as we should have because they were money moves, right? They're money moves. That's not, you're not spending your money there. And there's one way we don't want to question Howie. It's with money because he's so good about it. So it's almost like the business decision affected our outlook on the physical football decision of it. And looking back, it probably shouldn't.
One thing I'm tired of is the having to hunt for veterans on the cheap in the middle of the season. Like, I'd love to see that change in the future. Like going out to I'd like that you're so desperate because of decisions you made, you have to go shopping for Shaq Leonard, who, by the way, we now know why Shane Steichen said Shaq Leonard can leave.
Oh, I still would take Shaq Leonard over what they had.
No, I got you. I understand.
Look, I agree in that sense. I don't think that's an ideal situation for anybody, but this is really the first time they've had to do it because the years prior, it was injury, Linville Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. Well, that was because of injury, and then they just ended up being kind of better than what you had. But most of the time, when they have done it, it's been a Julio Jones type, like just a complimentary piece. It hasn't been all right, we need you. With Shaq Leonard, it was like, bro, we
need you.
We desperately need you because it's slop and dreck. I mean, they're bringing up Ben Van Summeren and from the
That's not a real name.
And then just throwing him in there. Hey, let's get some Ben Van Summeren run. All right, come on.
Hey, tomorrow's First Friday, and if you're coming, we look forward to seeing you. If you want to try to grab one of the last spots, you can at 97.5thefanatic.com. We got Sixers, Knicks tickets, Flyers, Flames tickets, Flyers, Penguins tickets, and breakfast from Homegrown Coffee and Creations in South Philly at 1515 West Porter Street. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. And remember, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner